Have you ever traveled through time? We do it every day.
Asgardia is a country with a population of more than 1 million people from more than 200 countries on Earth. Asgardia gives everyone equal opportunities, no matter what their earthly status is.
It is possible to create and live in the future right now. Are you ready? Forward progress is the solution to the entire human race. Our mission is to bridge new horizons. In Asgardia, there is no limit to the universal development in the fields of technology, finance, and arts. Asgardia is a new space and digital economy which creates opportunities for the global economy. We deliver innovations. Do you want to get on board with us? We are developing various kinds of digital businesses, attracting them to the Asgardia platform that can be backed by the means of our umbrella, i.e. franchising of the Asgardia brand. We can not only attract investments into space programs from prominent institutional investors, but also affordable amounts from the citizens of Asgardia. We comprise of more than 1 million people.
Asgardia is a chance to realize one's dream. This is a dream-driven space nation. Asgardia is a chance to belong to a community of free-thinking enthusiasts, goal-driven dreamers, and fearless innovators, theorists, and scientists.
We are the first space nation. One humanity, one unity.
Asgardia.
We are creating
the future.
Luca, you need to check your email.
Hello, Fred, I did. Thank you. Yes,
Thank you, Dan.
all good.
Лена, привет, проверка звука.
Hello, everyone.
Все слышно. Hello, Chairman.
Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. We'll start in just 1 minute.
It looks like that 1 minute has something to do with the children around you.
Yeah, I have children around me. They want to be involved. After all, they're more likely to live in space than we are. Oh, you can see bits of Angelina there appearing.
Yeah,
That's Maria,
ghosts.
actually. The ghost in the machine. Does sometimes the children want to be involved, and that's great.
Yeah.
Once she realizes she can do that, now she's curious. All right, let's start. Greetings, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us on day 2 of our digital sitting, the final one of the year. As you can see, I have a little bit of childcare to do today, and I suppose it's relevant because they're more likely to live in space than we are. Thank you, everybody who is here. Before we go any further, let me ask the interpreters to say how you can be involved in your language. Let's start with our Spanish interpreter. Greetings.
Hello. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Hi, yes, I can now. Yes, over to you.
It takes a little bit, just to let you know, it takes a little bit for for them to unassign, so I can speak.
No problem at all. No problem here. I have my own problems today.
Bienvenidos, estimados parlamentarios, a este segundo día de la sesión parlamentaria del segundo Parlamento de Asgardia, la primera democracia digital en nuestro planeta. Las traducciones se estarán haciendo en los idiomas ruso, turco y español, y obviamente hablando en inglés en el canal principal, de una forma simultánea. Es decir, pueden seleccionar el idioma que deseen escuchar o quedarse en el canal principal, que es de inglés. No tienen que hacer pausas, pero sí deben hablar más pausado para hacer una mejor interpretación posible. Si tienen algún problema técnico a la hora de escuchar su idioma, por favor levanten la mano, déjenlo saber en los mensajes para que les puedan asistir. Eso es todo por ahora. Les deseamos un exitoso día de sesión. Gracias.
I couldn't have put it better myself, Liz. Thanks very much indeed. Let's move on to. Let's move on. Gracias is about all I can say. And una badeli por favor. That's about all. Thank you very much. Let's move on to our Turkish interpreters next.
Hello, greetings everyone.
Hi.
Değerli Asgardia parlamenterleri, Asgardia 2. Parlamentosu'nun 11. oturumuna hoş geldiniz. Oturumlarımızın 2. günündeyiz. Yine tercümanlarınız Eren ve Alper size Türkçe ve İngilizce eş zamanlı olarak tercüme yapacak. Türkçe tercümeyi Zoom pencerenizin alt kısmındaki küre ikonuna tıklayarak seçebilirsiniz. Söz aldığınızda tercih ettiğiniz dilde konuşmanız yeterli olacaktır. Tercümanlarınız tüm söylediklerinizi diğer dile anında çevirecektir. Hepinize verimli oturumlar dileriz. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. And let's move on to our Russian interpreter next. Greetings.
Good afternoon, Chairman Opik. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Greetings to all the parliament members. Добрый день. Приветствую всех на второй день заседания парламента Асгардии, последнего в этом году. Сегодня для вас работают переводчики Кирилл и Елена. Никуда переключаться не нужно, как обычно. Слушайте все в русском канале. Единственная просьба — говорить чуть медленнее, когда вы будете выступать, чтобы мы успели сделать качественный синхронный перевод. Спасибо и успешного заседания. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are any problems with interpretation, please do let me know. But the one request is don't speak too fast. Then everyone can understand everything all the time. So we're on day 2. Day 1, we opened it with the usual process, and please do vote on the agenda. That is the quorum count, and we need 50% plus 1 to be quorum. So please do vote on that. Today is the big day for legislation and also other matters, including the government tower, which we will start in just a moment. Other big news, we will be discussing Decree 89 from Head of Nation, which relates to Antarctica and the creation of a landmass, which is truly Asgardian territory. But more of that later. By convention now, we will always start with the government tower on day 2. It helps our ministers schedule their time. So I'm looking forward very much to that government tower, which I, of course, hand over to our Prime Minister, Lena de Winner, who I'm very pleased to welcome here today, together with the ministers. The government tower is not always an hour. Often it's less, sometimes it's more. But this time is 100% devoted to what the Prime Minister and her ministers wish to share. So without any further introduction from me required, it's a great pleasure to see you, Prime Minister, and I welcome you and your ministers to our government tower. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dear colleagues, it's a pleasure to see you, even though it was much nicer to see you in person just 1 month ago. Thank you all for very humanely beautiful and professionally efficient few days we spent together. I think we today will fill less than 1 hour of your time. Traditionally, in the last year of the sitting in the year, the Minister of Finance will give preliminary financial overview of the year which has passed, and then you will get the final overview in the first sitting of the next year. And also today, Minister of Manufacturing told that he wants to share some of his progress with you. So that's actually all from me, and I wish you all very successful and efficient meeting, and I pass it on to Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Dear Parliament, welcome. Big greetings from Salzburg. Everybody's already in Christmas mood here, so that's why I'm wearing green. The You have chosen the agenda wisely because we can start with a low point and take it then up from there, which means we are talking about the budget, which is going to be short and painful. So we have, I have to move this. So as you know, our only source of income currently are the residence fees, and so far in this year, our residence fees
informed me that he also wants to share with you some of the progress of his activities. So Jakob, please go ahead. Jakob, you are still on mute.
Yes, sorry. Classical error. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I'll try to share a presentation that I have. Let me see whether that works if I share it now. You should be able to see my PowerPoint, and it should now translate to a full screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. I've got like 12 slides or so 12 minutes. And it's a positive message because I am proud. I am proud on our colleagues, on my direct colleagues over here at government, on the legal foundations of Asgardia and on Asgardia itself. And why is that? Because my ministry initiated a interministerial consultation. And I'm of course very glad about that. And the consultation, and so my ministry consulted another ministry, and that was about the validity and legality of Asgardian standards. And why am I doing that? Because I'm of that ministry. I'm Minister of Manufacturing, and I've got all those abbreviations: AIS, Acquia, blah, blah, blah, blah. That's the Institute of Standards and a few other institutes that we have over here at the ministry. So I'm going to show you a few slides. First about the what and the how about Asgardian standards and about this legal situation, and then the confirmation that I got via that interministerial consultation, and then the conclusion of one slide. Okay, so what are the legal building blocks of Asgardia? Because I want to work towards what the Asgardian standards are in that. So we start about the legal building blocks. And of course, it all starts with the Constitution. That's about the whole of Asgardia. Then we had one of the first acts was the Government Act. That's about government, about how the country is to be managed. And that was approved by head of nation, of course, obviously. And then after that, there was a code written by each ministry. That's a piece of paper, three papers, A4 pieces of paper, and that empowers us as ministers and giving them responsibilities. So with that, I got some power because I'm a minister, and I got some responsibilities. Oh dear, of course. And then those regulations, of course, those codes have been adopted. And one of the codes is the AMOM code, Asgardia Ministry of Manufacturing. I abbreviate that as AMOM. And that says, okay, the ministry can establish entities, it can introduce rules and regulations, it can establish compliance facilities, and it can levy fees and impose even sanctions. That's what in the code of manufacturing is. So, okay, and then ministries, of course, start working with that. And in my case, at the Ministry of Manufacturing, I, of course, at first created a website of the Ministry of Manufacturing with some goals and roles of the business and the future of what I envision from manufacturing and the first steps that I plan to take. And of course, Parliament does the same. They have committees, and of course, there was a Parliamentary Manufacturing Committee. And together with the ministry itself, it created an act proposal in this as an example. And that first example was the Asgardia Standards Act. And then, of course, Parliament worked really hard. And we see that every week, every Thursday, we see Parliament at work. And they do a lot of work. They have ALFs, Asgardia Legislative Forums. They have readings like we do today and tomorrow of those proposed acts. And in sittings like that we are having now, and at the end they start voting like they will do tomorrow, which is all great, which is democracy in the making, democracy live happening to everybody, for everybody to see. And one of the things that happened is the Asgardia Standards Act, and that says, in one sentence, there should be Asgardian standards, there should be an institute to maintain them, and there should be an institute to assure compliance to them. Very simple. It's only 2 pages or so. Very small act, but it's concise enough to state this. That was approved by Head of Nation, enacted via decree, in this case Decree 66. And all of those documents, like the constitution, like all those acts, the codes, everything is on the website. We are an open digital democracy. That is quite something. There's not something like that in the rest of the world. We should be proud of that. And of course, we have this responsibility, so we should act on these acts. So in this case, the Asgardian Standard Acts, the ministry established AIS, the Asgardia Institute of Standards, and Acquia, that's the institute that will check the compliance against that standards. Each with organizational procedures, each with the administration, financial aspects, everything. And what it did is those entities started working. In the case of my ministry, AIS wrote the Asgardian standards, at least the first 12 or so. And they used the procedures that are on the website. They used the administration, so everything was logged into an administration. Everything, all those logs are on the website. You can see everything that has been done. There have been partly recommendatory and partly mandatory. And two examples of that are standard number 3 and standard number 5. Asgardian Standard S 2003, Asgardian Standard S 2005, Q 2005. They are about units and numbers, and the other one is about information security. Just examples, just for amusement to see how this works. And below that there are the screen prints of the top of the websites. And so the Acquia, that is the Asgardia Institute for the Assurance of Compliance and Quality. Okay, then now about this confirmation, because this is how it works, how it should work, how it is defined to work. And what I now did, I asked confirmation. I did a interministerial consultation, and the reason was that I would like to check whether this whole constitutional procedure was followed, as it should be, of course, for the Asgardian standards, including the validation, whether those things were done for those necessary authorities like head of nation and prime minister and so on. And they have the authorities to approve things, to validate things. And this consultation confirmed that. It confirmed a few things. There will be a number of slides after this. The first thing that it confirmed was that the documentation is really publicly available. And that's good, because we are an open democracy. And the second part is the most important part, as far as I'm concerned. The whole scheme that was used for the Asgardian standard is legally sound within Asgardia. So it has worked. And I'm very proud of that. And it confirmed more, this consultation. It also confirmed that the standards are duly established under the authority of the Act and the authority of the Code and on the authority of head of nation. That combination gives them a firm legal basis. That means that once any standard is created and published and shown and accepted, promulgated is good for all those things together, in accordance with the procedures that are on the website, it becomes an official regulation. So it does not become an act, but a regulation within Asgardia, and it becomes legally applicable and valid within Asgardia's legal framework. That is quite a statement. That means that it's really true. It really is there. It works. It has legal basis. It also confirms that they are not acts. What I said, they are regulations. And a regulation is a sort of a subordinate legislation. It is not an act, but it's something under an act. They carry legal effect, but they do not need separate acts, because otherwise it would take, for every standard, it would take a year before we have a new standard. And of course, that's not very efficient. So that's why this indirection is there, this subordinate legislation is there. Then we have two kinds of standards, the recommendatory Asgardian standards and the mandatory Asgardian standards. The first one are, of course, recommendatory, not obligatory. They are not, you don't have to follow them, but they are guidance. They advise you. It is a best practice. It helps you to strive for our ideals within Asgardia. It's something that helps you. The mandatory ones, however, are legally binding. That's quite something. That's quite a serious word. Legally binding. They are regulations within Asgardia's jurisdiction, that is to say. Sorry, they must be adhered to, complied to within Asgardia. And they can even be subject to enforcement actions. I can even, as a minister, the AIS, the institutes can even enforce actions on them. Okay, so they apply within the context of Asgardia, not just ministry, of course. They are created by the AIS, which was created by the ministry, but they are not for the ministry. They are for all of Asgardia, for all government bodies, for all commercial entities, all companies that are in our Chamber of Commerce, for all residents. And they, of course, for example, also apply to all official communications and publications, businesses, and so like the press releases that we do. They should adhere to these standards. And it's also for residents because they accepted Asgardia's constitution when they became a resident. When somebody becomes an Asgardian, they say, okay, I accept the Asgardia's constitution. That means that they should abide Asgardian law, and that means that they are legally bound to follow not only that constitution and the acts, but also the regulations, including the Asgardian standards. This is quite a strong statement. And I did not make this, but this is what the consultation was confirming. Yeah, so I'm very happy with this. That means, for example, for the two examples that I gave earlier about, for example, units and numbers, that is about that we should use the metric system, like meters, kilometers, kilograms, seconds, all of those standard SI units. That's what in that standard. That means that if we do a press release, that we should not use miles or pounds or so. It's okay to talk about miles and pounds and so on in informal talks and whatever. But as soon as we do something official, as soon as we publish a document or we send out a press release or so, then we should use kilometers and kilograms and so on, because that's the standard. And similarly, the other one was about information security. That one says that the ISO IEC 27000 series, that's the sort of the basic book of information security in the world. That's the international standard on information security that was adopted via that standard. The standard says that it's a mandatory standard, so it must be used as the baseline for information security practices within Asgardia, of course. This is quite a statement again. Huh? That means that these standards really sort of make it obligatory. You have to comply to that kind of standards. And it helps us. It helps. I did those things in the Ministry of Manufacturing, because when you want to manufacture something, you at least have to be able to measure everything in the same way. So if you all use meters, kilometers, whatever, if you all use kilograms and don't use miles and so on, you are not, there's no way you can be mistaken. If half of the group that you are manufacturing with uses miles and the other half use kilometers, and you say to the rocket, move 2 to the left, it might go 2 miles to the left instead of 2 kilometers to the left. And it might then crash into the moon or so. Those things have really happened with NASA and so on. Things have really crashed on the moon because of these kind of things. That's a shame, of course. And similarly, there is no room for discussion. There's no need for discussion about information security, because this 27000 series is the basis for that. We don't have to discuss that because it's defined over there. So this is great stuff. This is the last slide. I'm very proud of this, because this is great news, not only for my ministry, but also for the other institutes, by the other ministries, like the Chamber of Commerce that we have of Bendel, like the things that Michael Chirino have created for information security. All those things have the same rules and regulations, and they also work in the same way. They are confirmed in the same way because of this, and because of this interministerial consultation. And it, of course, also works for the work of Parliament. It also is true for the work of the judiciary. So I am really very, very proud of this. as a minister and as a Asgardian, because I am proud of our colleagues that have helped me with this. I'm proud of our legal foundations, that they are so very well thought of and very well set up. The whole building of the legal foundations of Asgardia is really standing really strong. This has proven that, and effectively, I am very proud of Asgardia. Okay, thank you. That was my story.
Thank you very much, Jakob, and thank you for sharing your optimistic and enthusiastic view. It's very nice to see an example and the real case taken forward from the real work done by real people. It's yet again time for me to state it's a privilege to be among such distinguished professionals who contribute their daytime expertise to Asgardia and synergetically bring it to the new level. So at this stage, well, Mr. Chairman, if any colleagues have questions to Jakob, of course, that's the right time. But in terms of the presentations for the government, that's all we had to share with you today, dear colleagues.
Thank you very much for those great presentations. Actually, the presentation by Jakob reminds me that Concorde, the supersonic aircraft, was designed in feet and inches in Britain and in meters and centimeters in America. Sorry, in France. And somehow they made it work, but it was ridiculous, really, that they didn't have a common standard. They needed Asgardia. Thank you very much for that. Also, I believe that there was a problem with Russia and America at one point when they were doing a joint venture, and for some reason one was using imperial, the other was using metric. Jakob, I'm impressed with your knowledge of all of that. Have you ever had that problem yourself with any of your work, imperial and metric?
And I know that there has been a spacecraft crashing on the moon, and I know that there has been a spacecraft that has completely missed Mars because of those two, that they use different things. And that is, of course, a waste of millions of euros, solars, or whatever, gone to waste because things just, they just said 3 to the left. And that's stupid, and that's why I said, okay, the first step that was on my website of my ministry, the first step that I had to do as manufacturing minister is define those standards, because otherwise we will be wrong from the start. This is a basis.
Well, I'm glad that you have it. I'm also glad you're not recommending a whole new set of measures. There's something called the Whitworth scale for nuts and bolts and screws.
Yeah.
For some people use, I don't know why, but there we go. Thank you. So questions or comments to Jakob, or indeed for Mark, if you want them, or for the Prime Minister, indeed. Okay, thank you very much. John Fine looks horrified. It's just very early for you, John, isn't it? So, okay, any other questions or comments about this?
Take those off, actually. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else the Prime Minister would like to share with us before we move on?
No, it's great to see you all. Have a great session.
Thank you. Very efficient use of time as well, Prime Minister. The government hour was half an hour. If only we had politicians on earth who were that efficient.
I recommend we rename it into government half an hour in your next agenda.
No, then if it's 31 minutes, then
we ran out of time and you can reprimand us.
I wouldn't dare. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. And obviously our ministers and Prime Minister are welcome to stay with us for the whole of the session. It's a group activity. So let me now return to the agenda. We've done the opening and we've done the government hour. Next, I want to talk about Decree 89. And then after that, we will talk about the reappointment of justices of Asgardia. It may be that I'll move that till tomorrow. I just need to check the we've been trying to check in response to the question that was asked. We've been seeking the availability of those colleagues, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Decree 89 on the drafting and consideration of a legislative proposal on the land of Asgardia in Antarctica the amendments to the Citizenship Act. Now, this is a very big matter for all of us. And this ties in with what the head of nation announced at the very important Asgardia Executive Congress. And as our Prime Minister says, it was great that everybody was meeting, and it always does a huge amount of positive good for the colleagues to meet, and I hope that we will all meet soon. The head of nation is determined that we are recognized as a nation state by the United Nations. In order to achieve that, we need to fulfill the terms of what's called the Montevideo Convention. I will talk about that a little bit later on. The purpose of this discussion is to give you, Parliament and ministers, the opportunity to feed back into this, what will be the most important project for the next 12 months. I have said many times now that I expect we should aim for recognition on the 10th anniversary of Asgardia, 12th of October next year, 2026. This decree, which we will go through, and I will ask in a moment for Linda to put the decree up onto the screen, is the process to achieve that. And success for us here is to understand the decree and to commit ourselves to fulfilling its purpose. The decree you will see on the screen, and I will read it through. This has not yet been published, sorry, there's a lot of chat coming up on my screen from participants today. I'm going to read this through, and then it will be published after our sitting. Just be clear that the head of nation trusts Parliament to come up with the right legislation to achieve the purpose of the decree. So the decree is a decree to get us in Parliament to deliver the results that we need, which is a very clear form of progress from now to recognition, and then on the way we need to get land. So I'm going to read this now. I've read the title already, so we'll start beneath that. Whereas Asgardia wishes to be recognised on Earth as an independent state in accordance with its constitution, whereas in order to achieve the above, Asgardia must possess a certain territory on Earth, whereas on Earth there is a so-called Mary Bird land in Antarctica that does not belong to any Earth state, whereas Asgardia, currently an unrecognised state on Earth established in 2016, has not signed the 1959 Antarctic Treaty. That's important, we'll come back to that. I hereby order, this is the head of nation, the Parliament of Asgardia to immediately draft and consider a legislative proposal on the land of Asgardia in Antarctica, and amendments to the Citizenship Act, including, but not limited to, the following points: the size of the land of Asgardia in Antarctica and its geographical perimeters, the size of the portion of this land to be distributed among the citizens of Asgardia upon completion of the required legal procedures, the size of the portion of this land remaining in the state ownership of Asgardia upon completion of the required legal procedures, the individual plot size of this land for each citizen of Asgardia, the minimum and maximum number of plots a citizen of Asgardia can potentially own, the registration of digital ownership rights to land plots as a free option available with Asgardia citizenship, with a subsequent transition to actual ownership upon completion of the required legal procedures. The the registration of digital ownership rights to land plots to be valued in terms of a utility coin named Luna upon completion of the required legal procedures. Considering the signing of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty during the period of recognition of the independence of Asgardia at the stage of its joining the UN, United Nations. So that's the decree. Now, let me highlight three aspects of it. If we can go up on that again, please, to the top. Right. Merry Birdland. Let me explain that first. Colleagues who attended the Asgardia Executive Congress know this, but there is a large area, which is something like 1.6 million square kilometers in Antarctica, that no country on Earth has claimed. And that's tied in with the 1959 Antarctic Treaty. This is the area that the head of nation has identified as being of interest to Asgardia. Connected to this, and the second point, as it says in the decree, Asgardia did not exist when the 1959 Antarctic Treaty was signed. So therefore, we're not subject to it. That was signed by other nations and not by us. So from a legal position, it can be argued that we are not subject to that treaty because it makes no sense to say that we are subject to it if we weren't around at the time. And there's been some very interesting debate, including with Peter Morn, our Deputy Chair of Parliament and Head of the Justice Committee, about the legal aspects of that. So there's an interesting thing to talk about it. The third point I want to make is what we're actually being asked to do. Geographical perimeters means, under the order, that we actually show the land very specifically. It's not a vague point. It's a very specific point about the land that we want to own. And I think that part of that is, in my view at least, to publicly say to the world, this is what we've got an interest in. So those are the three big points. In response to two questions that I've been asked. One is, we don't have an army. We're not seeking to occupy somebody else's land. That's the whole point. Nobody owns this land. And that's why we think we can peacefully make a claim to it. The second question I have been asked is, are we looking anywhere else? Yes. And once again, I say, as I say every week, if you have a knowledge or information that you can share about potential land where you are in the world, that could be Asgardian territory. We want to know about that because we don't just have to look at Antarctica. There may be a perfect island in equatorial areas with the capacity to be Asgardia Island. So please recognize that what we're doing in Antarctica could be done anywhere else in the world. The final thing I want to say, and then we can open this for debate. The Montevideo Convention is really the central thing that we have to fulfill. And there are 4 terms in the Montevideo Convention. Those are, for a country to be recognized as a nation state. Oh, by the way, Montevideo Convention comes from decades ago, long time ago, in the early 20th century, and is regarded as really the defining legislation, if you like, or understanding or convention that helps us understand what is a nation and what is not. And there are 4 conditions, and they're very simple to explain. For a country to be recognized as a nation, it has to have a government. And we have obviously got a civic system. It has to be able to do deals with other nations. And clearly we can, because we have ministers and we have chairs and we have the head of nation, the prime minister and so on. So we fulfill those 2. The third thing is that we have to have territory. And we'll come back to that. That's a crucial thing. And the fourth thing is that we have to have a population. Now, until the Asgardia Executive Congress, I didn't think of us as having a population, but I was wrong. Head of Nation correctly pointed out to me and to all those present that we do have a population of roughly 1.2 million citizens, or people, sorry, people. I have to be careful on the language. But we have those people. So the only thing we don't have is the physical territory. Can we have a population without territory? Yes. If everybody in Italy all went on holiday at the same time, Italy still exists, even if everyone from Italy is abroad at the same time. Now, that's not going to happen, but it could theoretically happen. And if it could theoretically happen, then that precedent applies to us as well. We can have territory which is unoccupied, but it's still ours. By the same token, a piece of land doesn't stop being your territory if everybody leaves, because it doesn't make any sense. That's a silly thing to say. There could be, for example, a big volcanic eruption, as there is in Hawaii at the moment, and people have to leave the area. It's still Hawaii. So the one area that we do not have, we have not yet fulfilled, is the physical territory. This has been a subject of debate really since Asgardia was formed. And the head of nation has now concluded we do have to have physical territory. He hasn't always wanted to do that, but we have to do that. So we fulfill 3 of the 4 terms, but with physical territory, there can be no doubt. There are, I believe, 193 countries in the United Nations. It only takes 2 of them to recognize us, and we have then got status. One last thing. The Montevideo Convention makes it very clear that even if other countries don't recognize you as a nation, you can still be a nation. This has been a subject of debate and dispute in many conflicts around the world. In fact, there are at least 2 conflicts at the moment in the world where that very point is being debated. But the convention is very clear. It's not possible for other countries to deny your existence if you fulfill those terms. So I will open this up for conversation now, for feedback, and I'll ask Linda and Alona to make notes of the key things that are being discussed. Thank you, Linda, for that. Thank you for the putting that up. So let's open this up for discussion. And success for me is that you share your views. The convention, sorry, I've had a little bit of a cold recently. The success for me is that we talk about it now, and then when the Decree 89 is published, then we work on it, and this will be a really #1 priority for the next 12 months. John, you've been very patient. Over to you.
Yes, okay, thank you. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to address some of the things you said. One of the things you said, because of the ATS, Antarctic Treaty System, was signed before, and we wasn't part of that, that we might not be legally held bound to it. Well, that's false. Okay. And the reason why is because our own Constitution and the Foreign Affairs Act both state that we will honor all international accepted treaties. So, and the ATS is definitely an internationally accepted treaty, and it's also a United Nations accepted treaty. It's actually guarded treaty that is unmovable as far as United Nations and the rest of the international community are concerned. That treaty cannot be violated at any cost. So, and we state within our own Constitution and within the Foreign Affairs Act that we will honor those things. So we would be violating our own laws if we were to violate that treaty. The other thing is, you talk about how we get land, and then recognition. Well, it's actually supposed to be the other way around. We're supposed to get recognition first, and then we can talk about land. Our goal should be to get recognition first, And that way we stay on the good graces of the international community. If we go straight for the land, especially Antarctica, the international community is going to blacklist us. And that's just a fact. They're going to blacklist us, and Asgardia will be through. Okay, as far as anything the international community is considered, I don't care what angle you try to use, the ATS is unmovable. That is an unmovable obstacle. And as far as Mary Birdie land is not being claimed, it actually has been claimed by several entities over the years, and none of them been recognized because the ATS is unmovable. There have been made claims to that land. There's several micronations and all kinds of different other nations have actually laid claim to it. You know, wrote out decrees and all kinds of stuff. And the international community told them to go fly a kite. You know, no, we're not accepting that. And it is covered in the ATS. Also, the Mary Bird land's covered in the ATS as far as the territory of Asgardia, the whole Antarctica. I mean, the whole continent of Antarctica is covered under the ATS. And it says even the people who own land in Antarctica have agreed to not claim that ownership in a way of land ownership. There can be no new claims. There can be no old claims. Nothing is recognized. And Antarctica is just for scientific purposes, environmental purposes, and things like that. And that's it. That's all Antarctica could be. The best approach, I would think, that Asgardia could do and do very easily and very quickly is because Russia has a science station on Antarctica, and Asgardia could become part of that project. Do a joint venture with Russia in that science station, which is very easily done, very legally done. Of course, we'd have to get permission from the member states of Antarctica because they have to be aware of everything that's going on in Antarctica. But I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem. I'm sure Russia would help us do that, and we could put a flag, and it'd be mostly symbolic. We couldn't say we actually had claimed territory there, but we could. As far as the flag is, the flag would be our sovereign territory, but and that's the only thing and then that way we get that recognition. That's what we need. We need the recognition first. You know, there's steps to the ladder, and if our goal is land, we need to walk those other steps first. And one of the major steps that we need to achieve to get that land is the recognition, and that way we stay in the good graces of the international community. Because if we try to skip over the recognition part and try to bundle it and go straight to land, well, the international community it will blacklist us, you know, and that's not a position that anybody wants to be in. And the other legal issue that we have pressing on us is that we're only an NGO. Even though we can say we're a nation, nobody recognizes us as a nation. And yes, I know the Montgomery says you can be a nation, but being a nation and being recognized as a nation is two different things. And for the international community for us to have any legitimacy whatsoever in the international community, we need to be recognized as a nation. So I would think that we would go for observer status, which is very easy to obtain. We already have done some of the work to get that observer status, and that was with this science law, that long-term habitation module that we did, joint project that we did. That would actually help us get that observer status. We need to do a few more other projects to kind of add on to that, so that the people that are determining if we get the observer status it gives us good credibility. The more international partnerships we have, and the more things that we do towards this observer status, which is peaceful relations, environmental, scientific, etc., the more the better our chances are of getting that observer status. Once we get the observer status, well, then we're actually in the United Nations, you know, and a part of the United Nations. There are currently NGOs in the United Nations. One of them is the Red Cross, and or something similar, and there's others. So it's not like it's impossible. That's not definitely achievable, and achievable short term. And I think that's the way we should go, rather than trying to claim land, because the international law, the ATS treaty system is very clear. Nobody will recognize. They will not let you in to Antarctica. They will arrest you at the ports. There's only a couple of ports to get into Antarctica, and the law states that you'll be arrested at the port. If you're not on the list to go in there, and you haven't been cleared by all the member states and all the other stuff that has to be cleared, they will arrest you right there. So, hey, that's and then as each one of us Asgardians fall under our laws of our country, then we're each Asgardian in their own country is going to have to deal with those laws as well. And the last thing I want is the United States government on my back because Asgardia Space Nation decided that it wants to claim land in Antarctica, and the United States is one of the biggest supporters of the ATS, and if it got to the point where we started making those people angry, the member states and United States, well, then they can make things very difficult for us, and that's not a place I'd want to be. And it's definitely not a place that our Constitution says that we would go towards. Now, I have drafted a piece of legislation that takes us on the path that I explained, that gets us the recognition first, the observer status, and all that, and then the land, and that has to be done very delicately, of course, through a process of negotiations in order to stay internationally legal. So, but they won't even look at us until we get till we get the recognition, which would be and a lot of that recognition could be done through special zone agreements, which is basically like the agreement we had with the long-term habitation station. That I'm sure they called it something else, but technically it is a special zone agreement. And there's other agreements we can do. We can even go through trade and commerce and do some stuff there in the same aspect for the same reason. And Ben Dale's already got some angles on that himself. But this is our best legal path and our best internationally correct path that keeps us on the good graces of the international community, as far as I'm concerned. Because to do anything else could actually could cause a negativity nightmare and a lot of hurdles, and actually slow us down more than it speeds us up. But anyway, and I did draft that legislation, and that's the one that's in there now under the LMRG. I am going to integrate this decree in there, and integrate your notes in there as well, and try to see how those are going to work out together. But there is a path. I just don't think the path is to try to claim land in the Maryborough section because, and for the reasons as you stated, because those don't legally those don't hold water, and any good international lawyer can would crucify us in those situations, and and if we get on the radar of countries that protect the ATS, well, we're through. But and then all the citizens in those countries that are on the ATS are now going to have legal problems themselves, and that's something that's got to be said because that's something that will come down the road if we decide to go that path. So that's really not opinion. I've actually researched this extensively as far as the legal implications of it. There's only one legal path that doesn't give us a lot of heartache and pain, and that's the one that I've presented in the LMRG, that the legislative act, and it's I call it Antarctica Act, and it does give us what we want, but not exactly the way you just described. It goes through the processes the international community will accept, and that's, I believe, is our best path. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, John. That was extensive. A couple of points. Then I've got Luca, Peter, Ricky, Jakob, Ugo. Just 2 points. One is we're not going to have a battle or a war with anybody. I mean, that's not how Asgardia operates. I understand your concern about making people angry. We're not going to make people angry. That's against the ethos, the credo of the head of nation and Asgardia. The second point is very interesting about your observations on the legal side. This decree helps us to have to clarify all of that. I regard this decree as a call to action, as a way of getting to the territory that we require. There's actually one other point. I think we do need territory to be recognized. And I don't think it's as hard as I used to think. I actually think we can do this because we are the only fully functioning digital democracy on Earth. And the reality is that there will be land, maybe in Antarctica, maybe somewhere else, that we will be able to acquire. There are many precedents for when land has been moved from one country to another, or even precedents in the 20th century of countries being created, sometimes controversially. We don't need to get into that. But John, you've made your points very well, and I'm more interested in listening to you than getting you to listen to me. So let me go to Luca next, and then Deputy Chair Peter. So Luca, you're next.
Thank you, Chair, and hello, everyone. So first of all, let me thank John and Ricky also for digging into the issues and making it quite clear in private conversations. I subscribe to what John said, maybe 80% of it, maybe not all of it, but most of it. The part that I might not be subscribing is the one that you also, Lambert, raised, that, yeah, I do agree that it might be best to first get land and then seek recognition if there are other ways than the one proposed here. About this specific one, I've been looking a little bit online, and if ChatGPT works well, I think this is definitely a very, and I wouldn't say, I mean, it's not a great choice of action for different reasons. There were previous attempts by some other, let's call them micronations, that wanted to claim territoriality there, and they all went to nowhere. And I think, I might be wrong, I don't have a legal background, but I think the treaty makes legally void any claim of territory in that land. So even if we do claim it, that has no legal value whatsoever. So it might be a bad idea to go away a path that is not legally strong, and it will definitely put Asgardia in violation of international treaties, which is not what you want to do if you seek recognition. I think it's the opposite. You need to show that you are recognizable by other states. So who will recognize someone that starts by violating something? There is another thing. I also understand that the United States has a claim on the land that he has frozen because of the treaty, but I'm sure if someone breaks it, or let's say goes around the treaty and occupy the state, the United States will start claiming it at some point. I don't think they're going to just let people take the land. It's too strategically important for that. Third point, of course, is also complicated from a practical and financial perspective. I don't think we may afford having a population settling there, which is what we probably need for claiming to be a nation. We need a population living on a territory. I wonder if we could get our population living there even temporarily, and the cost of the operation would be exorbitant, so probably not feasible at all. And to be frank, I have to add one further step on that. I think this might be so dangerous in terms of violation of international treaties that because I am a governmental employee in Italy, I might look into that legally, but I even wonder if I might be able to stay in the parliament if this goes further and public as an attempt. Because if it creates a violation of international laws, I might maybe risk my job. So I need to be careful with that. That's all I have to say. And thanks again to Vicky and John. And so one last bit, I agree also with what Benedetto wrote in the chat about first creating maybe a community and then finding the land for the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Luca. It's really interesting. And as I say, I'm not going to respond to everyone because the whole idea here is that you get the chance to have your say. And the head of nation is very interested in all of these views. We want to get this right. That's the point. We want to get this right. Peter, next.
Thank you, Chairman, and parliamentary colleagues and others. I have been a great advocate of the acquisition of land for Asgardia since I joined the Parliament some years ago. And I was delighted when the head of nation announced his enthusiasm, which he hasn't always had, for that project. Absolutely delighted, because I cannot see there is any way forward for Asgardia without having that territory. I was, however, somewhat surprised that it was Antarctica that he had his eye on. And what I have done is I've reached out through Lembit, and I want to see the legal arguments for being able to acquire this land. My committee, the Justice Committee, we have committed ourselves to this year finding a way to achieve the result that head of nation requires. I have personally committed myself to the same thing, but I need to see the legal basis on which head of nation and those advising him, which is more important, say that we can acquire that land. To say that the treaty was signed before Asgardia existed, and therefore Asgardia is not subject to it, is, with the greatest of respect to everyone who has said it, and I say this as a lawyer, it's arrant nonsense. It's very much like me saying, well, look, I was born in 1954, which I was. I know I look a lot younger, but that's when I was born, in 1954. And therefore, any acts of parliament in the British Parliament before 1954, I'm not subject to. Before 1954, I didn't exist, but I'm still subject to all of the earlier legislation. Indeed, The Act of Parliament I work with more than anything else in my work is the Law of Property Act of 1925. I can't turn round to the Land Registry and say, I'm not subject to that because I wasn't born when this act was passed. So I think, sadly, that's an argument which will just not hold water. Having said that, I've also listened to what John said, clearly a very well worked out delivery. And his proposal to join forces with Russia is, again, it's about the equivalent amount of nonsense, although very well thought out. Because if we're doing something jointly with another nation, we are not acquiring sovereign territory. And that is what we need to do, to walk in the United Nations and say, right, here we are, here's our land, here's our population, we want to be in with you big boys. It just wouldn't hold water. You're doing it jointly with another nation. So what we need to have is the acquisition of sovereign territory, which belongs to no one but us. No one can dispute that except by act of war. And then, and only then, are we a full player in the field of United Nations. And I'm very worried that there's an awful lot of implications here that have not been thought through, which is why I've dedicated my committee to thinking it through with all the ammunition we can get from Head of Nation and his other advisors to work out how we can do this. Because otherwise, I'm sad to say, the only way I think we can acquire that part of Antarctica is marching in our army, which we don't have, and saying to the world, right, this is ours now go away, or we're going to shoot you. And that's not going to happen. And that's the only way I can see that it could happen. I'm very worried. I'm thrilled to pieces that the Head of Nation wants sovereign land. It gives us so many opportunities to make money for Asgardia, to make Asgardia higher profile, and to step towards our true objectives. It's a wonderful idea. But a wonderful idea that's impossible to achieve is no better than a poor idea. So I want to work this through properly. I want to bring in my minister as well, who is an international lawyer, and Mark Beer, and is a very, very clever man. And I want to work with him. Once I get the information from Head of Nation as to what he based his idea on, that he could claim this territory. And I am the greatest enthusiast in Asgardia for acquiring land. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not. But I want it to be real, I want it to be achievable, and I want it to be sustainable. Sorry, everyone, I'm not trying to put a dampener on it. I want this to happen, but I think we have to be so careful. I think John's idea, it's great of him coming up with ideas, but I don't think it'll wash. But I don't think that just saying, hello, we're Asgardia, we're now going to have this territory. I don't think that will work either, unless we're going to acquire an army, and we're not going to do that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Peter. Let's go to Jakob next.
Yes, hello, thank you. I have a question, and maybe Mark Bogan might know the answer to that. I thought that I read in the Decree 89 that you briefly showed, that I read about a coin, a new coin called lunar, so not solar or euro or dollar or so. Why a new coin? That's the question. Will it be an Asgardian coin? Will it be have a comparable blockchain structure below it, for example, or so? And why is it even necessary? Why is it in that decree?
It is Asgardian, yes. I'm not sure if Mark wants to respond. If not, then
I can.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So there has always been the plan to have two parallel, let's call it value storages. One is for trading, which is the solar, and the lunar is basically the idea that you can store value there, and since land would be some kind of value proposed, then the lunar could be a smart contract signing the lot to you, yeah? And then you can trade it. That's the reason why. It's like a
This
smart contract.
interesting. You might have more documentation on that somewhere because I don't quite understand.
Okay, well, you know what a token is, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So basically you buy a lot and instead of receiving some kind of certificate, you receive a digital certificate, which is based on a blockchain, and for that reason it cannot be altered. And for that reason, you can pass it on either to your children or when it comes to inheritance, or you can also sell it. Yeah. And the Lunar is basically nothing else than a smart contract based on the blockchain and can be used to different kind of value storages. And if there will be land, then this land has to be administered, and it has to be clear who owns what. And the Lunar is nothing else than the instrument to do that.
Mm. So it is a way of recording, administrating the fact that land X is owned by Y.
Exactly.
Something like that. It is not like the solar is something that is there is money which you can trade behind it, and it's connected to the euro. So it is a sort of a smart contract linking it to a euro.
Yeah.
In another blockchain.
Right. So solar is the currency, and the currency is basically the means to do business. I pay you some amount of solar to receive some amount of service or product, and the lunar is the technology to describe what you own in values. And it could be also, for instance, gold, it could be something else. And the lunar is just the idea of using smart chain technology as a smart blockchain technology as a smart contract to have the possibility to administer land. As you said before, you own lot X and it is clear that you are the person who owns it, and for that reason, nobody else can claim it.
Yeah.
But
okay.
This is the smallest problem.
It was just a question, but thank you for explaining. Yeah.
I'm not. If others may not be clear on this as well. At a future Asgardia legislative forum, which we will devote to this whole decree and this whole subject, we can go into detail on this as well. It's important that everybody does really understand this. Ricky, then Carl. Ricky?
You dropped out there for a moment.
Yeah, Ricky.
I agree with. Yeah, you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Fine, no
Okay.
problem.
Yeah, I agree with John. The recognition through the UN rather than getting land first. The one NGO that claims Mary Birdland, the Duchy of Wisteria. Now they have UN standing as a observer NGO. I don't know if we could go that route or not. We would have to be a little bit more involved in what we're supposed to be doing, such as monitoring asteroids and things of that nature. As far as land, oh boy, I wouldn't go for no more right now than maybe 100 hectares, because our eventual goal is to be off planet, not stay on planet. So I think a landmass that size would be sufficient for our needs. When it comes down to that, find a country that's willing to give up that much territory. It's not a big chunk. I mean, shoot, it could be in the middle of Nevada for all I care, as long as it gave us what we wanted. yeah, there's a lot of legal considerations in there. There are some areas that have not been claimed that sit between countries. They have disputes over it, well, you need to take it. And they're like, no, I'm not going to take it. You need to take it. So nobody takes it. Maybe look at something like that. But yeah, overall, Antarctica, that's a no-go for me. It really is. And for members of parliament and the ministers and everything, that would cause way too many headaches, politically, legally, and everything else involved. Because being as what we're involved with, being members of this parliament and other people that are ministers, the prime minister, the head of nation, we can all be held legally responsible for a major transgression like trying to claim land in Antarctica. That's under treaty. And none of us want that. Quite simply, none of us do. So either go for UN recognition status first as an observer NGO, an observer organization. I knew at one time the Han did have some things going with the UN to do with science. I think it had to do with STEM for kids or something along that matter years ago. We could go, we need to do something like that. And if we're going to go for territory, no more than 100 hectares. Anything bigger than that, then you're just asking for a lot of trouble. And if by chance we do get something like that, let's say in Southeast Asia somewhere, and people are living on it, those people stay. Technically, they become Asgardian residents or Asgardian citizens. And granted, if it's an area like where I'm at, they're not going to have a lot of money, but having that permanent presence there is what's needed. So basically, they be grandfathered in. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to do that to y'all. That's pretty much all I have to say right now. I've supplied things here in the past for people, they could take a look at and just go from there. I've made my point. John's made his. Lucas made his. In the chat, pretty much all the same points have been made. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. Carl, you're next then further.
Hello, everybody. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Just like Ricky, I just have to ask if I am audible.
Yeah, you're fine.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chairman, esteemed colleagues, while I share the profound aspiration to see Asgardia fully recognized as a sovereign state, it is my duty, not as a lawyer, but as a member of this parliament, and more specifically, a member of the Justice and Foreign Affairs Committees, to introduce a note of necessary prudence and concern into our debate regarding Marine land, particularly within the context of the Montevideo Convention. We rightly anchor our existence in the declaratory theory of statehood, asserting that our permanent population, our functioning government, and diplomatic capacity already make us a state. However, the convention's criteria for a defined territory and the practical reality of effective governance remain our greatest vulnerability and cause for concern. First of all, we have discussed this earlier. My other fellow AMPs have mentioned this, is the ATS. Of course, our planned move or naming of Marie Bird land as Asgardian territory is, while it's strategically targeting unclaimed territory via terra nullius, it faces an almost insurmountable legal challenge from the ATS. Of course, you know that the ATS is the universally accepted legal regime for the continent, and its Article 4 explicitly states that no new claim ellipsis to territorial sovereignty in Antarctica shall be asserted while the present treaty is in force. Attempting to assert a brand new sovereign claim, even on unclaimed land, will be perceived by the international community not as an assertion of legitimate statehood, but as a direct challenge to a foundational principle of the existing international order. Major powers will, of course, easily dismiss the challenge, which risks undercutting the very recognition that we seek. And of course, there is also a concern of a failure of effective control. The Montevideo Convention requires us to demonstrate effective control over claimed territory. Marie Berlin is you have probably already seen it. It's remote, it's hostile, and it's logistically inaccessible. Establishing a permanent population and continuous administration, which are the very acts required for effective occupation, would demand massive resources and attention, potentially diverting us from our core space mission. And this is also a note that a failed attempt at occupation would be most likely be seized upon by critics as proof that Asgardia cannot satisfy the fundamental criterion of effective governance over the claimed land. This could severely damage our credibility and make the path to full sovereignty longer and not shorter. And so with that, I just simply am trying to urge this parliament to carefully study the legal barriers of the ATS. That's first things first, and then consider a more incremental, legally defendable approach, I guess. We must focus first on establishing a globally recognized legal presence through partnerships and functional compliance, which we are already doing, of course, before challenging a treaty system supported by the world's most powerful nations. So this is really just a word of caution as we go into the debate. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Carl. Further next.
Teşekkür ederim. Önce
Thank
çevirmen
you so much.
arkadaşlara
First of all,
şimdiye kadar
our
çok
interpreters and
dinlediğim
translators.
olduğum ve yetişmek zorunda
I know
kaldıkları
I am
için.
speaking quite fast and they are keeping up with me, so
Karl'a
thank you.
söylemiştim, ben de
So,
önce söz
well,
alacaktım
as I
ama
said before,
fırsat olmadı
as Carl
tekrar
also
katılım.
took the
Uluslararası
floor before me, but as the Foreign Affairs
olarak
Committee, as you
toplantımızı
also very well know,
ve
we
ilk
discussed this
takımda
quite intensively. And this was first
takımdan
announced in
hızlı
Dubai, as you know, and we started to work even more and faster. And we want to become ready for the next digital session. That was our schedule, but I think we need to move even faster. We are under pressure in respect of timing. I know that it's a quite layered approach, but we will have a focus. We will be focusing on the solutions. So I also agree with my previous colleagues that took the floor before me. I think the real problem here is I mean, we should be moving forward, not just as a single option on this regard, but we need to have like a package of solutions maybe, and address this to UN, and also forward all these maybe, or submit these requests or these type of claims to the UN as a part of the package of gaining recognition at UN. And of course, this should be supported by a lobby activity, in my opinion. So we need some extra efforts here.
önemli olan burada
I think what really matters at this point
neyi değiştirebiliriz
is what we can change as Asgardia for the whole humanity, for the whole world. How much we can get them recognize Asgardia, and or to see how much world or the rest of the world can make concession from their rights or from other aspects for Asgardia. Hopefully, we will be hearing the results very soon, and we will continue to work hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferda. Staying with our Turkish colleagues, it's Ugo next. Ugo, hi, good to see you.
Teşekkür ederim Sayın Başkan.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair. First of all,
Yüce Parlamentosu'nu saygıyla
I
selamlıyorum.
also would like to once again greet all of my
John
colleagues.
ve Luca'ya endişelerini
John
açıkça
and
beyan edip
Luca, thank you so much, first of
teşekkür
all,
etmek
for
istiyorum.
addressing your concerns openly. It's really
Bence bir
fruitful
kontrak
to
sahibi
hear from you.
olmamız
I believe it's
olacaksa geçmiş defterleri
yes, time
karıştırmakta
to
fayda var diye düşünüyorum.
own a land. I
Sayın Baylık.
agree with this
Hatırlarsınız
topic.
ve eskiler
But we should
hatırlayacak.
also remember also from the past or from our past discussions, and I'm sure you will remember those very well because we have held these discussions previously in previous parliament sessions, so you probably know it better than me. If you remember, I said previously, if we can have a territory with, for instance, rocket ramps, with maybe stations to train astronauts, maybe rather than a territory, maybe we can have something like a vessel, like a marine vessel or a ship, whatever you call it, that can, travel around the world, and we can help our citizens maybe to also visit or to live on this ship, on this vessel, to also gain the status of a nation state. That was a proposal from my side that I did before in our previous parliament sessions, if you remember. I don't know, but maybe we can consider this option again. I just wanted to remind you of this option. We can contact, thanks to this ship, I mean, we can contact any citizen of Asgardia in any part of the world, thanks to such option, in my opinion, because we are being represented in many different continents, and we can reach out to many people thanks to this. And this ship, if it is of course big enough, can, as I said at the beginning of the speech, can, for instance, host like rocket ramps or like training stations for the astronauts, because we have to think about future, not today. So it might look maybe or seem maybe crazy, but I believe it is achievable. So rather than a hotel in Dubai, we can have a ship for Asgardia that travels the seas of the world. In this way, we can also cope with our cultural differences. We can enrich the cultural heritage of Asgardia. So I just wanted to remind you of this option, and of course, I am very willing to hear about your ideas about this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ugo. Very interesting idea. Let's go to John Fine again.
Yes. Well, first I want to a rebuttal to Peter because he said my idea had no didn't seem like rubbish. Well, it's not towards owning land, Peter. It's towards getting recognition, which is not rubbish. Asgardia needs that recognition, and a joint venture with Russia in Antarctica would help towards get our recognition. It would be mostly symbolic, but it would definitely help us get recognition. The same thing with the way we got recognition through that joint venture with the long-term space habitations that we just finished. And that was mostly symbolic, but it does give us that recognition. And this is what we need. This is what we need most of all in order to make that next step. Now, Luca and I had a good conversation on here about owning land. Right? Currently, there is no territory on Earth, sovereign territory that can be claimed. All sovereign territory on Earth has been claimed as far as the international community accepts. And the international community has stated through the UN very plainly, through all these conventions that they have, that they will not honor any other new claims from this day forward. Not like the old days where people could just go in and take something and claim it was theirs. It's not happening. But what you can get away a semi-territorial claim or a quasi-territorial claim. And that's done through a special zone agreement, and where you can basically lease land from a country, a long-term lease, like 99 years. I actually have a semi-territorial claim on my property. The phone company did a semi quasi territorial claim in order to put up some of their equipment, and they needed a piece of my property to do that. So they did a long-term lease with me, and they not with me, but with the previous property owner, and paid him a lot of money to claim part of that land as theirs so they could put on their equipment. These kind of contracts go on all the time through the internationally and domestically. So yes, this can happen. And if by chance that country says that we can claim it as our sovereign territory in that contract, yes, we can say it's sovereign territory. However, it's most likely they're not going to give up that the sovereignty of their land. But who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they're feeling very gracious. But if we just wanted sovereign territory, not land, sovereign territory, if that was our goal, which I think that's all we need in order the Monte to complete the steps in the Monte Convention is sovereign territory, then there are two options still available to us right now, which is we can put a space station in space and put people on it, or we can put a platform in the international waters and put people on that, sort of like his boat, having a big boat idea, like a big cruiser or something like that. That's actually not a bad idea. But and now technically, if you read the language, I think this would actually meet that the meet the because I believe I read it right. It says sovereign territory. It doesn't actually say land. So uh, I think this would meet that standard uh, legally, and I think we could get away with it. But as far as the ATS is concerned, that's off limits. That's a legal, unmovable barrier that's just not going to happen. I mean, yes, there is a diplomatic avenue for us to take that step, uh, and we could do a special zone agreement with uh, all the signature countries on the ATS. We could submit that through the United Nations to all those countries to have the ATS amended. That is an option. But the likelihood of all those countries, because every single one of them has to agree to it, not a majority, every single one. And the likelihood of that happening, yeah, it's like that's about as many stars there is in the galaxy. So, it's just likely not to happen. Could it happen? Sure, anything could happen. But that is legally available, diplomatically, if we wanted to go that route, and to have the ATS amended, but only through the United Nations and getting all those signature countries. I think it's 50 or plus more countries that are on that ATS to agree to it. And then they would amend it and say, yes, Maryland is now Asgardia sovereign territory. And however, I'm sure they'd have stipulations in there that we can't have, uh, you know, that we wouldn't be able to put a whole lot of people in there and stuff like that, because that's the whole ideal behind the Antarctica Treaty, was not to put people in Antarctica as as a population base, but keep it strictly scientific, environmental, and stuff like that. So, and I think that's the way that they're plan to continue with the ATS from here till the human race no longer exists. So, but anyway, like I said, the best thing for us, I think, is get the recognition first, and we can do that through special zone agreements. The Russia thing is just one special zone agreement. What Luca talked about is another special zone agreement that we could go for, where we could basically get a long-term lease with a country to lease some of their land that's easily accessible and viable to live on, and see if they'll let us claim it as sovereign, or at least as quasi semi-sovereign, and enough to meet the steps within the Monte Convention. Montevideo, I can't anyway, at least Montevideo Convention, and that there is a possibility that could happen. I think somebody said the Philippines it might do something like that. Who knows? Yes, there might be a country that would do something like that for us, and it's certainly worth checking into. But that's going through the most legally and most diplomatic and most internationally accepted path, not just trying to say that we're now claiming the land in Antarctica, because there's been others that tried this and it didn't work. And like I said, I read the laws of the ports into Antarctica, and they will stop you there at the port and detain you, and it could lead to an arrest. And they ask you what your purpose is for going in Antarctica, and if it hadn't been cleared through the proper channels, they'll detain you. At the best case scenario, they turn you away and tell you to go home. Worst case scenario, they stick you in prison for a while. So, and so I would want to be part of that group that goes in there and tries to make that claim. But anyway, yeah. So that's what I have.
Okay, thanks, John. Well, go on to Ariadne, then Ricky.
Bien, gracias por permitirme
Thank
la
you
palabra.
for allowing me to talk. There's an interesting detail. Actually, our official page, we have
De los buenos deseos, que se llama
a box of the good wishes.
otro botón
Why not make another button adding it to that box of the good wishes, that we can call it Asgardian territory, and to add a little bit of we can send some money in there. What we need is to find a spaceship, or a possibility that where we can work, maybe territory not claimed, but independently. Aside from that, money is vital, and obtaining that possibility is really important. If we have that support, economic support in lunars or solars, and that is working for Asgardia, what we need is money. And independently of what we can do in the future, or what we can do viable, is to have that button that says donate for our future space on Earth. The head of nation commented this, and how Peter says that we have to work on that under the legislations of the world, and under the treaties that are already existing. But to have that that money box, to have the visualize the baby, the Asgardian baby. I don't know what you guys think. Thank you.
Thanks, Ariadne. I have views, but I don't want to share them. I have plenty of opportunity to make my input, so I shall continue to. Ricky, I will say though, we will definitely have a an Asgardia legislative forum soon to discuss all of these matters. This is very helpful, and I'm sure the head of nation will be very pleased as well. Ricky, you're next.
Yeah. One thing I had mentioned before, and I think I put it into our WhatsApp area, is that, and what was it, Benedetto, I think, also brought this up, that the sale of land in Antarctica should be like a symbolic thing. Like years ago, during the Reagan years, there was a guy that started a company and he was selling acres on the moon. He made quite a bit of money. People got titles and everything else, but everyone knows that, it's just a fun thing to do. Then you have the company that you can name a star after your mom, your dad, your wife, your kids. Pay so much, get a certificate and that. But everyone knows it's not going to be listed as that name. But it raised money. They made a lot of money off of it. If we did something like that, then yes, we could make money. Our golfers take some of it and put it towards climate research, how it's affecting Antarctica, whatever. Put some of it towards the NEO duties that we're supposed to be doing, that we need to be doing, and other things. That, I think, would be the better way to go with Antarctica. It's not illegal. It's perfectly legal, as far as I can tell, and as far as I've read, to do something like that. You're not really promising that, yeah, you're going to own this. No, you're making a symbolic gesture, is what it is. So it's just something to consider. Thanks.
The Milky Way galaxy has somewhere around 400 billion, depends which estimate you take, 400 billion stars. That's 50 stars for every human. So you could name a lot of stars after people. So that's a possibility. And it's a good idea. Though I'm sure that none of us are going to reach another star in our lifetime. That will happen eventually, I think. Now, thank you for everybody who has spoken. We've had a lot of very interesting debate. Let me summarize not every point, but what happens next. The head of nation is taking a big personal interest in this. Your concerns are his concerns. We're not going to have an army. We're not going to militarily occupy this territory. We're not going to make enemies on Earth. But it's actually our value to not be involved in Earth politics. So we need to recognize that. Whatever the solution, it will be peaceful, and it will be with cooperation of other countries, not in conflict. We haven't got the resources, but more than anything, we haven't got the desire to be in conflict with Earth. We're wanting to create a peaceful space nation, not a belligerent, warmongering Earth nation. There are enough countries who are willing to fight without us being involved. So what happens next is the feedback that you've given will be passed back to the head of nation. He may watch the whole debate that we have just had. The decree is really to promote this discussion. We have to get this right. So the second point is we have the power to do this correctly because we have to create the legislation. And the third thing is, it's clear that from this discussion, we need to have an Asgardia legislative forum. I expect that will be in the first or second week of January because we are very busy now. But it's possible. It's just possible that we'll have it in December. I don't think so. I think it'll be in January. But we will dedicate that session to the work that John has done, the decree itself, and most importantly, to getting this right. So thank you, everybody who's been in that discussion, and I hope that you found that interesting. I certainly did. Great. I'm going to conclude that part of our discussion now. Let's have a look to see where we are. Just going to the agenda now. Right. What we've started with is the sitting in the announcements for the opening of the sitting. We have the government hour, and we've had the very important debate on Decree 89 of the about the gaining of territory here on Earth in order to be recognized as a nation state. I'm going to slightly delay the reappointment of justices. We're seeing at the moment Yun Zhao is very busy, but we're seeing if we can get him. If necessary, I'll do that tomorrow. But what matters is that we need to reappoint those justices. That's your call, of course, because their term of office has ended. It's just literally because of that, and no other reason. So what I suggest we do is we do the Asgardia Opportunities Act, and then first reading, and then we take a break. So on behalf of Alexander Melnikov, I'd ask John Fine to present the Asgardia Opportunities Act. And the context here is we were looking at this in a different way as a kind of protocol, but John said to Head of Nation, he really wanted this to be a piece of legislation in the formal way. He felt it was necessary. So John, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lambert. Oh, thank you for that great introduction.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, Lambert, I am not a sarcastic person. You'll very seldom ever catch me saying something sarcastically. So
okay, I'll take it at face value.
That is not in my nature. I did it with you once. I will admit that, and my creator has since corrected me on that and told me I better cut that crap out. So
you can
I'm not going to do it again.
You can be as sarcastic as you want. I sometimes deserve it.
It might be okay with you, but it's not okay with him. So
I sometimes deserve it, John. Ask my staff.
Let's see. Which one did you say we're doing first?
We're doing you're making me go from one screen to another. We are going to Opportunities Act first.
Opportunity. Okay.
Asgardia Opportunities Act. Then we'll have a break. Then the Asgardia Digital Content Authorization Act. Okay. Let me share my screen here. Just while John's doing that, it'll be a very short 5-minute break, and then we'll have a slightly longer one at around 4 o'clock UTC. All right, can you see that? Yes, we can, John, and it looks great. Okay, thank you. Let me make it a little bigger and get all these little things out of my way here. All right, this is the Asgardia Opportunity Act. This is for the first reading, and the author and sponsor of this act is Alexander Melnikov. This version is 11/4/2025. Oh, and I want to say before I begin that we did get some last-minute suggestions from the Safety and Security Committee. They won't be integrated into this presentation. We're going to review those, and they'll be integrated into the next presentation when we give that one. Just wanted to give
the Safety and Security Committee recognition for their assistance. This act establishes a digital employment platform for civil servant opportunities in Asgardia. The platform will collect data to formulate economic strategies aimed at attracting and retaining residents, enhancing Asgardia's brand, and supporting business opportunities. The objectives include generating new income, which after that briefing we had from the Minister of Finance, we definitely need. Creating jobs and fostering patriotism, and strengthening the economy and solar currency. Purpose. The primary goal is to align with Asgardia's mission of promoting digital labor, enhancing residency, fostering patriotism, and increasing revenue. Our core principles: providing residents with opportunities for digital earnings, strengthening the economic sovereignty of Asgardia, granting unique resident access to global data, generating income for the state and its citizens, and global accessibility through web interfaces and mobile platforms. The articles of this act are as follows. You have the purpose, definitions, platform functionality, management and development, considerations, data security and privacy, feedback and improvement mechanisms, and dispute resolution and remedies. And I will give a brief summary. This is not actually going in the details of the act, but we'll give you a summary of the meaning behind it. Platform functionality: residents can apply for various packages categorized into micro, meso, and macro tasks, receiving compensation in Solar, Asgardia's currency. Data security measures: the act includes, I forgot to change that word, the act includes provisions for data encryption, anonymization, access control, regular audits, and compliance with data protection laws to safeguard personal information. Management oversight: the Ministry of Trade and Commerce will manage the employment platform, ensuring proper funding and integration of information across Asgardia systems. Feedback mechanisms: the platform will implement user feedback channels to facilitate continuous improvement and quarterly updates on performance and changes. And of course, dispute resolution, which you should find on all of our acts moving forward. The protocol or the act provides for alternative dispute resolution methods and outlines procedures for resolving disputes through mediation and the Asgardia judiciary. And in summary, the Asgardia Opportunity Act is designed to advance Asgardia's mission by promoting digital employment, fostering global inclusivity, and ensuring long-term economic sustainability. By implementing this digital platform, Asgardia will expand and retain its resident base, encourage patriotism and community engagement, increase revenue streams, and strengthen the solar currency. And lastly, elevate Asgardia's international reputation and presence. This initiative positions Asgardia as a forward-thinking digital nation, ready to embrace innovation and empower its citizens in a rapidly evolving global landscape. And that's it. Ready for any questions and answers.
That was so fast, John. I'm going to ask you to do the next one as well in a moment. So I'll get your two out of the way. Ariadne wants to speak, I think.
Okay.
Ariadne? Oh. Maybe it was... Did you want to speak? Maybe it was just from earlier on. Alexander seems happy with your presentation, John. Just while I'm seeing if anybody wants to say anything, this came across as... Yes, Ariadne does. Ariadne, over to you. Hang on. For some reason, I can't see these raised hands. It's telling me that raised hands are raised, but I don't see them.
No.
You don't?
No, my hand isn't. No.
Okay,
I don't have
no problem
any
then. Sorry.
comment.
Okay, the system is cheating me. This was a protocol, but John feels it should be an act. So we have discussed this before. If you agree with it, then please vote yes. If you disagree, vote no. And if you're not sure, please still vote, but abstain. Please abstain in that case. I think it's quite straightforward. I'm very happy with it being legislation. I have no problem with it. You presented your case on behalf of Mr. Melnikov, Dr. Melnikov, to Head of Nation. So I'm happy to proceed with that. John, let's do the other one. Then we'll take a very short break and a slightly longer one at 1600. John, do you want to do the second one of yours, since you are very efficient with time today?
Okay, sure. Hold on. Share my screen again here. Oh. Show content. There it is.
Yeah, we see it. We see it.
All right. All right, this is the Asgardia Digital Content Authorization Act. Again, first Parliament reading, and the sponsor is Alexander Melnikov. This is version 11.4, 2025. This act aims to stimulate the activity of Asgardia's residents in creating and promoting digital content that aligns with the goals, philosophy, and projects of Asgardia. The goal of the program is to increase residency, retention, and patriotism. The national currency, Solar, will be used as a means of motivation and compensation. Okay, the core principles. Encouraging digital activity and self-actualization among residents. Involving residents in the nation's development. Enhancing Asgardia's online presence and brand. Implementing micro rewards for social actions and civil servant works programs. Improving residency, retention of residents, and Asgardian patriotism. The articles are as such: purpose, definitions, overview, program implementation, program feedback, program tracking, effective date, dispute resolution, and remedies. A summary of the articles. This is not the details of the articles, but just a summary of what we're talking about. The purpose of the act establishes a national program to reward Asgardians for creating promotional content aligned with Asgardia's brand. Core principles. Focus on encouraging digital activity, enhancing online presence, excuse me, and improving residency and patriotism among Asgardians. Program implementation involves clear objectives, guidelines, and incentives for Asgardians to produce quality promotional content, supported by necessary tools and resources. Feedback mechanisms. A platform will be created for residents to provide input on the reward system, including regular surveys and transparent reporting of feedback outcomes. Tracking system software will be implemented to monitor the performance of shared content with regular program reviews to assess effectiveness and make necessary adjustments. Effective date and dispute resolution. The Act takes effect immediately upon approval and outlines procedures for resolving disputes through alternative dispute resolution principles. The Asgardia Digital Content Authorization Act represents a significant step towards fostering a vibrant digital community within Asgardia. By incentivizing the creation and promotion of digital content, this act aims to enhance national pride, increase national residency and retention, and strengthen the online presence of Asgardia. The implementation of a reward system using the national currency, Solar, ensures that residents are motivated and compensated for their contributions. The Act also emphasizes the importance of feedback and tracking mechanisms to continuously improve the program and ensure its effectiveness. With the immediate effect of this Act, Asgardia is poised to create a dynamic and engaged digital micro-universe where every resident plays a crucial role in the nation's development and success. And that's it. Thank you. Ready for questions and answers.
Thank you, John. Once again, we've been through all of these things before, so there may not be any questions, but we're changing the status of this legislation from a protocol to an act. That's really the main thing. Are there any questions or comments on this, John? Is it for John? And I'm grateful that you are presenting this on behalf of Alexander. Okay, good. Thank you. If you agree with this at first reading as legislation, vote yes. If you disagree, please vote no. And if you're not sure, then please abstain, as always. Okay, thank you. Let's take a short 5-minute break, and then we'll have a longer break at 1600 UTC, just so that you know where we are. Let me just go to the document. We've covered the opening and the announcements. We've covered the government tower. We've covered the Decree 89 discussion. We've covered the Asgardia Opportunities Act first reading. We've also covered the Asgardia Digital Content Authorization Act first reading. Next, we'll be covering the Asgardia Space Debris Mitigation and Management Act second reading, the Asgardia Space Traffic Management Act second reading, and then finally the Asgardia Youth and Education Framework Act second reading. Then, if we've been able to, if Hyun Zhao is available, our Supreme Justice, then we can cover that as well. Otherwise, I'll do that tomorrow. So great. So let's take a 5-minute break. It is currently 15:08 UTC, so we'll start at 15:13. Just a quick 5-minute break, a slightly longer break at 1600. Okay, thank you. of the second day. We've covered over half the work already, which is great. You're very efficient people. What we now go to is the next part of the legislation, and that will be with further. I'm just changing to the other screen. And yeah, so further hopefully is ready, willing, and able to present your legislation. Now, this legislation has been here with us before once already. We did the first reading, and that was very good, and you passed it with a big majority. So we're into the second reading, and that, as you know, means that we go and look at the actual more detailed content. So let me just hand you over to further, and
Thank you very much.
over to you.
Sorry, but I will be talking in Turkish. I need John to open his fabulous presentation. Of course, he's ready for it.
Don't apologize. You've got the right to speak in Turkish. Turkey is one of the strongest nations in the world for Asgardia. So, John, I'm just checking John's here. I think John is nearly here, just while we're waiting for John to come back in. We can't start until John comes back in. Let me just tell you.
Bana daha öncesinde maille gönderdi açıkçası.
He
Hem Türkçe
sent the
çevirilerini,
presentation,
yaptığı değişikliklerini
even the
okumaya
Turkish
çalıştığımda
translation, and the changes he
bizim
made
böyle
for the
bir
second reading.
uyuşmamız oldu.
And we also
Sunum
exchanged
yapmak
some
zorunda
emails with
idi. O
Luca.
bize söyledi biz ona ulaşmadan.
He told us about what we were trying to do, even before we told him.
Yaptığımız işi göstermeye çalışıyoruz
We are trying to show our international relations or foreign affairs work. These two pieces of legislation that we are trying to do will demonstrate how we work with the committees. You have already seen the way we work with the committees, and finally it came to the Science Committee, and rightly, Luca said that these two acts will be included in the space law that they are preparing, and then we agreed. So there will be some changes related to that during the third readings, but there won't be a lot of amendments. There will be some simple corrections, and Luca also told us that he really liked the work we did. So therefore, we will be working on the issue. There will be some small changes, slight changes, but only a couple of sentences just to indicate the connection between our act and the other act. John, can you start the presentation?
Yes. Which one are we doing first?
Fark etmez hangisi kolayındaysa.
It doesn't matter which one is easier.
Okay.
There's an order in the agenda, but it doesn't matter. Just use whichever one you want.
Okay.
I got Debris first, but it doesn't matter.
Sonuçta bölmeden ikisini arda arda sunacağız. Bir kenara çekileceğiz biz, değil mi?
Because we are going to make two successive presentations, and then we'll leave the floor. True.
We got debris. I've got debris mitigation first and traffic management second, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do them one after the other anyway. There we are. Okay.
Tamam, bildiğiniz üzere ilk
Okay, as you may know, our first revisions have been, we first show the general template of the law when we first started discussing about this, and we have talked about the potential articles. In this second reading, LMRG, thanks to the contributions of LMRG and John Fine, we went into the details. Please, next page, please. Next slide.
Acil olarak uzay çöplüğüyle ilgili ne
So
yapmamız gerektiği, bununla
we're
ilgili kalıcı
talking
çözümler
about
üretmekle ilgili
recognizing the urgent challenge posed by space debris and creating some sustainable solutions together with the international bodies we also indicated that there should be an international cooperation, and we also gave the details of such a cooperation in our articles. And also we mentioned the safeguarding space for present and future generations. Of course, John did a brilliant job in preparing this presentation. Next slide, please.
Bunu direkt Türkçe olarak kendim okuyor olacağım.
I'm
Siz
going to be
İngilizce çevirebilirsiniz. Aynen,
reading in
İngilizce
Turkish,
çevirebilirsiniz.
so you can
Ben
directly read the
Türkçe
English
olarak
version of it.
arkadaşlarıma bu devlerin odaklandığı noktanın neden ayrıldığını anlatmış oldum.
I have explained the
Standartların,
standards, safe disposal of spacecraft and active collision avoidance.
çürümesinin ve bunlardan
And I also talked about the potential dangers the decay might create. And we have also proposed a method to get rid of this debris.
devam edebiliriz.
Next slide, please.
Evet. Uzun vadede
Yeah, in the long term, we need to address the pressing issue of space debris to ensure long-term sustainability of outer space activities. Here, we mention the purpose, article by article. We need to establish measures to prevent, reduce, and manage debris for current and future generations. We are trying to pave the way for the future generations, for them to be able to deal with the space debris. So another purpose is to create international cooperation, best practices, and technological innovation for safe and secure space exploration.
Araştırmalarının devam ettirmeyi nasıl düşündüğümüzü
We are talking about the way how we envision the future space debris management practices. Article 2 deals with the definitions as the space nation, as the NGOs, as the other entities and institutions, how they can and we can work together. Civilian people will be involved in this, so this problem should not get bigger, get worse because of their involvement. And as the problems, as the issues accumulate, there should be some dedicated study to deal with this problem, which is this. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Evet, yani kendi alanında görev yapacak. Tamam. Uzay
It
trafiğiyle de
is
koordine
going to
çalışacak.
work in its own field, and it's going to work in coordination with the space traffic.
Gözlemli özel ihtiyaçlar olabilir.
This is also acknowledged, but there might be some special needs.
Araştırma ve çalışmalar
We have also conducted some research about such kind of special needs that we may have to deal with. We will have to conduct observation. We will have to monitor and track the debris. We made some corrections and additions about this. And liability and responsibility. Regarding the space debris, there should be an entity that will take the responsibility and that would provide the necessary information when needed. And a cleanup responsibility. We try to describe the operators or organizations that may be required to participate in these debris removal missions. And regarding this, we also paid attention to the risk management. And if you read the law, then you would have some information about this, the details of it. Next slide, please.
Tekrar enforcement and penalties dediğimiz
Article 7,
problem yaratanlar ve
enforcement and penalties,
sıkıntıları çözmekle ilgili
solving the problems and dealing with the
olarak detaylı çalıştık.
entities that may cause problems. We specifically focused on this, on Article 7, and on Article 8, funding and resources. We also provide some incentives for the people. Of course, we have the law, but when it comes to details, we will have to lift some extra weight. After the third reading of the law, we will become even more active. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ferda? The great piece of legislation and very well presented as well. Any questions for that item? That's a very frightening picture. No one survives an impact like that in the picture. Thank you. Very beautifully put together presentation. Let's go to the other one, John, the second one. And let Ferda continue. Then after that, we have Sabahatini as well. Yes, here we are.
Çok teşekkür ederim. Tekrar. Böylece seri bir şekilde
Thanks again.
geçebilmiş oluyoruz.
So we are able to proceed very quickly.
Birbirinden ayırmayalım.
These are sibling laws, so they should not be separated. Now let's go on. Now this is somewhat very different than the previous one, because after the involvement of the international civilians, in the future there will be a very high traffic on the space, and this will introduce a totally different set of responsibilities to us. Yes, we have considered this space debris, but before the debris, we should be able to manage what's going in the space correctly. And such kind of study we will have to do. We will have to do. So we can continue, please. Next slide.
Uzay hareketleriyle ilgili
Regarding the space movements,
güvenlik, sürdürülebilirlik, efektiflik,
there are the issues of safety, sustainability, efficiency,
devam ettirebilme
being able to adapt
önemli.
the space environment, and ensuring a continuity. They are all important. We will continue our discussions with our committee.
Kendi bir kanun olarak çıkacak, hem de
There will be a
uzay
dedicated
kanunu
law,
devam edecek
and
bir kanun.
it will also go hand in hand with the Space
Devam
Act
edelim.
that is now being prepared. So our duties will go on. Next slide, please.
Nüfusun artması ve uzay yörüngesinde
Together with the increasing population and increasing mobility in space
tarafsız olarak
and in Earth's
gerçekleşebilmek
orbit,
için,
we will have to
yörüngesinde
have some independent systems to
iyi
control.
bir kanun olduğunu düşünüyoruz.
I believe
Detaylarını
the law provides for that.
eksiksiz tamamladığımızı düşünüyoruz. Çok büyük bir
I
değişiklik
believe,
sağlamak
we believe that all the
için ve
details
yeterli olacak.
are
İçinde
dealt
olmak
with,
için bu konuda ekibime
so we don't have to provide any additional details, just a couple of sentences. That's why I would like to thank
tamam, kanunun
LMRG.
fikrini ve taslağını kendim hazırlamış olabilirim ama
I
sonrasında
may have
arkadaşlarımın
prepared the
yaptığı
first
emek çok daha fazla
version of
yadsıyamayız.
first draft of this law, but then
Devam
the
edelim.
effort made by my colleagues to fix this document, to detail this document, was really huge. So I would like to thank them. Next slide, please.
Evet. Çok rahat okunuyor prezentasyondan, aslında biraz da o
The
yüzden
presentation
okuyabildiğiniz için
could
yazılan
easily be
slaytları
read
çok
on screen.
detaylı
That's
olarak
why I'm not going into the
ne
details
bilmiyorum ama
because you should be able to read the details
olarak
on the screen.
düzeltilmesi
But
gereken şeyler çok fazla. Uzayla ilgili, uzay
we
bölgesinde dünyadaki
had a lot
ülkelerin
of
hareketiyle ilgili
issues
ve
that we had to
ortak
correct
hareketler
regarding the
koordine
movements of the
ilgilenmesiyle ilgili.
countries and
Dolayısıyla
ensuring a
bu
coordination between those
bizim
movements.
konulara
There were a lot
tarafsız,
of things to
güvenilir,
do.
takip
So
edilebilecek
this
ve
law
rapor
provides for
talep
an
edilebilecek bir
independent,
platform
safe,
sağlamamızı
secure, sustainable
öngörüyor.
platform
Bunu yapacak olan
for the
Asgardia
management
olduğu
of
için de çok
space
gururluyuz
traffic.
açıkçası.
And
Bugün
we
böyle
are
bir
very proud that such kind of
koordinasyon,
work
düzen veya böyle
can be
bir noktaya
undertaken by
değinen
Asgardia
olduğunu zannetmiyorum.
because
Herkes
I don't
kendi
believe that
ülkesiyle ve kadrosuyla takip
nations,
ediyor ve bu bir
countries
taraflı bir bakış
considered the
açısı.
possibility of such a
Global olarak
collaborative management of
etkileniyoruz biz
space traffic
bundan ve
because
bunun
they were
yönetimi
mainly interested with
için bu
their
platform
individual
olması
operations.
dünya
But
açısından
to have
önemli.
such a platform, a global platform to manage a global space traffic is very important.
Bunlar için altyapı oluşturulması, bu altyapının sağlanırken teknolojisinin, istihbaratının daha önce söylediğimiz gibi
Technology,
risklerini ilgilenecek konuların çok
intelligence
detaylı olması gerekiyor.
should
Hem
be
Türk komitesi hem
the responsibilities of certain bodies. So we are going to be collaborating with the Ministry of Safety and Security and Ministry of Science.
Semerci grubu olarak
We need to come together with
John
them.
devamını getirdi. Son okumaya bir değişiklik yapacaklarını
John
zannetmiyorum
made some
komitede.
additions
Özellikle bu grupta çok bir
by
dağılma
the
kalmadı.
LMRG, so I don't believe that we
Ama
will
komite
have
her zaman
further
eleştirilerini
details to
açığız.
add. But of course, we are always open for the contributions and criticisms.
Uzayla ilgili özellikle farkındalığın yükselmesine yardımcı olacak ve hani
We will try to create
olarak
awareness
Asgardia'nın da sorumlu
regarding the
sahibi
space
olabileceği bir
traffic.
alan.
And this is the kind of field where Asgardia
Ben
can work as an
destekliyorum
independent body.
kanunu.
That's
Arkadaşlarımdan
why
desteği talep ediyorum.
I'm in full support of
John
this
Sayna
law,
çok
and
teşekkür
I would
ediyorum.
like to ask you to support this law.
Ve diğer
Thanks very much to John
desteklerine
Fine, Ricky, Luca, and all the colleagues for their support. Let's continue.
Evet. Bu son sayfamız.
This was the last slide.
Çok teşekkür ederim.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, Fada. Very helpful. Very interesting also.
Pardon, bir sayfa daha varmış. Onda
There was another page, apparently. Can you keep this on screen for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, so that if people want to read, they may find the opportunity to read.
Heyecandan ben de karıştırdım.
I'm also excited, so I'm a little bit confused. Despite the fact that we have been working intensively on it. Thanks very much. So that's all I would like to say.
Thank you very much indeed. That's great. Really appreciate it. Really good. So, any questions or comments for Fada? We have Luca, who has a remarkable storm behind him.
With a nice hurricane.
Yeah, it's okay if you're watching it from space. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ferda, thank you for this presentation. I think as I told you before, I subscribe. I mean, I'm very happy with the act that you're preparing. Something that I might suggest, and this occurred to me just now, so I couldn't suggest before. Something that would be included, some couple of extra points. I don't know if they belong to this act or they need a dedicated one, but I believe that space awareness and all this, let's say the whole concept of safety in space requires a lot of education right now. And I mean this in a general worldwide broad sense. So why not include a tiny, so you have already included one bullet points in the slides, I suppose in the legislation as well, about the need to invest in research and development for the topics, which is great. I supported that strongly. We need to invest in research. I mean, whenever we will be able, research in this 5 topics, including space weather, debris, all of it, because this is the future important science for space occupation. And the other thing is education, as I say. So it would be nice maybe to include one bullet point about trying to promote education in the field of space awareness for all of the things. Maybe it's already in, but otherwise we can maybe work on that for a very tiny, at this stage we cannot actually do it. We just propose that that should be done at some point. Thank you.
Further?
Çok doğru söylüyorsun ama olay
That's
aslında
right.
Gençlik ve Eğitim Komitesi.
I think it's mostly about the Communication Committee, Youth and Education Committee, and Foreign Affairs Committee, because this is the duty of the Foreign Affairs Committee or International Relations Committee, because they need to be in touch with you to produce some projects and then present it to the companies, to associations, or to the individuals, turning these into projects, launching awareness campaigns to increase the residency numbers and increase the strength, negotiation strength of Asgardia. That's why we are working for. That's why we are always coming to your committee or the other committees, trying to organize co-projects. Our aim is to continue with these efforts in a coordinated way. We would like to have something global, but actually global, independent projects with a wide angle. We would like to avoid obsessing on one single point. We would like to spread it to the entire globe. We believe that this is how we can become more active. If we can attract the people's attention, attract the country's attention, I believe that we can more directly achieve our aims. Once the Youth and Education Act passes, I think they'll have a look at it, because we'll be working globally to create an awareness. But of course, we will keep the other committee very busy with our demands, with our questions.
Luca, I'll give you the right to reply, then we'll go to Ariadne. Luca?
Yes, thank you. Just very quickly, a quick response. Yes, Ferda, totally. I agree. This is the way to go. Thank you for that, and I will try to be as active as I can on that. But in my vision, the goal that I would like to have is that in the future Asgardia education system, and I'm talking about high school or even lower grade schools, that should be in the program of the school, like a space awareness subject, like today we study biology or mathematics or English or whatever language. I would be great to be maybe the first nation to have space awareness as part of the official educational program for kids. That's the way to go, I guess.
Thank you, Luca.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Feda.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Ariadne, I'm holding you, but I need to reply this. At Dubai, I made the presentation. At first Thursday meeting, I've done the astro mining presentation to you. Same idea goes together on. And that means finding asteroids should be a lesson in high schools. Cerencan from Kültür High School and Kültür University was my friend, and she advised their article for this as a lesson. They are teaching children how to find asteroids and finding them on the map with the chemicals. It will be nice. The details, it will be global. It's only one article from a school, from a country in a city. But the problem is maybe our responsibility make it global.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ariadne, then John.
Me da mucho gusto, Ferda, esta nueva presentación.
I'm very happy with this presentation, Freda, and to see Luca very enthusiastic and involved in this. I think there's a data very precise. There's a 530,000 planets that are around us, and we depend a lot in satellites to activate the orbit that instead of being a help is of a warning. I think we should be more involved in our segment within the parliament to help the Earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Ariadne. I'll just get John and then I'll come back to Ferda. John.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Luca that the Education Act does put us into that kind of framework that he was talking about. So I'm certainly believing, looking at that act, that's definitely a reality more. Once we get to that point, that'd be more than that won't be a possibility. That'll be a reality. But yeah, and I want to thank Luca for all of the contributions that he made, and I will, now I'm talking as the LMRG representative, I will work tirelessly to get all those put in there and get them integrated in there. And that last bullet point that you said, I don't see no reason why we can't throw that in there in a diplomatic way. So yeah, but it should be no problem.
Thank you, John. Last word to you, Ferda.
Herkese katkılarından dolayı çok teşekkür
I
ederim.
would like to thank everybody for their contributions. We can never ignore John's contribution in terms of the presentations, in terms of law. I make the drafts, but he develops
Herkese çok teşekkür ederim.
the drafts further. So I would like to thank everyone.
Thank you, Ferda. If you agree with what you've seen and what you've heard, then please vote yes to the second reading. If you disagree, vote no. If you're not sure, still vote, but please abstain. You have three options: yes, no, or abstain. And please do vote. We need to have 50% plus one to make sure that the session is quorate and that the votes count. Thank you, everyone. Let me go to the last piece of legislation. I think that Yun Zhao, our Supreme Justice, will not be able to join us today. I'll ask him to join us tomorrow in response to requests yesterday about the individuals who are being reappointed as the justices. There are 4 people. He has other responsibilities today, which I'm aware of, so we will work around him. So let's go to the final piece of legislation and probably the final item for today. It's Sabahattin is next, and he has a very interesting document which was originally commissioned by, and created, actually, designed by Corner, and it's the Asgardia Youth and Education Framework Act second reading. So let me go to you, Sabahattin. Good to see you. Over to you.
Evet, teşekkür ederim. Sesim geliyordur umarım.
Thanks very much. I hope you can hear me.
Sesim geliyor mu?
Yes, we can. It's absolutely fine.
İyi akşamlar herkese. Burada
Have a good evening, everyone, because it's evening in Turkey. I couldn't go home, although I was invited to my mom's place. And I have to say that I'm also a bit hungry. Now, coming to our topic, as the Youth and Education Committee, the study that we conduct is based on the efforts of Corna and John Fine. We have 2 different documents, 2 different versions of documents. Let me share one of them. This is the study conducted by Corna. I have I have shared this with John Fine, and we both observed that the topic of youth was somewhat missing in this document. And I had prepared a kind of critical note, which I'm going to share soon, because the place of youth must be re-evaluated in this law. I made some notes about this. And secondly, John Fine prepared a document, another draft, which I'm going to be sharing soon. And this is the draft by John Fine. I try to do my best to fill in the missing parts. Some of the articles are repurposed, re-evaluated in relation with the topic of youth. So this is in our archive, all the previous drafts. We want to develop them further to give the Framework Act on Youth and Education its final form, final shape. But let me share my own draft, which I'm going to be summarizing. This is the Asgardia Youth and Education Act. This is a kind of critical evaluation of the first and second reading. So you may call it as the somewhat third reading, because we did two readings on Corna's draft, and John Fine's contributions are also validated as the second readings. But now we are going to put them on a shelf to focus on this one as the third reading. So it's a kind of combined document, a kind of consolidated version of Asgardia Youth and Education Act, first and second readings, and Asgardia Framework Act on Youth and Education. This one is the consolidated version of these two. This version is keeping the original structure and the core principles, but we are also talking about the Asgardian youth as the basis, as the central actors to develop the technology science in the nation of Asgardia. Young Asgardians are recognized as the foundation of humanity's future beyond Earth, and the Act affirms the fundamental importance of youth sustainable space nation. The Act to empowering youth through equitable access to quality education, lifelong learning, and meaningful participation in decision-making, scientific advancement, and cosmic stewardship. Now, when we have a look at the articles, it says purpose. The purpose of this act is to establish a comprehensive legal framework for youth and education in Asgardia, ensuring that young Asgardians are equipped with the knowledge, skills, values, and opportunities necessary to participate effectively and responsibly in a space nation. Article 2 includes definitions. Young Asgardians refers to a citizen defined by age and legal status under Asgardia law. Education encompasses formal, non-formal, and lifelong learning, including digital and space-related education. Space-based society means social, scientific, economic, and governance systems extending beyond Earth. Youth participation refers to the active involvement of young Asgardians in educational and civic decision making. Therefore, here we are filling the missing part about the youth involvement. Article 3, Rights and Responsibilities of Youth. Article 4, Education System. Article 4, Access and Equity. Article 6, Curriculum and Pedagogy.
Yani burada gençliği de vurgusunu ön plana çıkarak değerlendirmeye
With
çalışacağız.
an emphasis on youth.
Madde 7 ölçme ve
Article 7, Assessment and
Madde 8
Evaluation.
öğrenci refahı ve
Article 8, Student Welfare and Protection. Article 9, this is important for us, youth participation
bu eğitim programlarına
and
eğitimlerini ve
adherence.
refahlarını etkileyen karar alma süreçlerine katılma hakkına
They
sahip olacak.
will have the right to
Ve
participate
öğrenci
to decision-making processes that will have an impact on them. Youth assemblies
ve dijital katılım platformları
and digital participation platforms will be actively supported. One of them will be, as I mentioned in Dubai, Asgardia Youth Summit
12 Ağustos'ta
on August 12.
mutlaka düzenlenmesi gerekiyor.
We have to organize a youth summit. This is what I believe, and we are still working on a draft. Article 10, development of teachers.
Yer alacak eğitimcilerin de
Educators that will take part in this
merkezde
process of education will have to be trained, so they will receive continuous professional development to support youth-centered, inclusive and digitally advanced teaching practices. And Article 11, it's something we always put an emphasis on, funding, partnerships and monitoring. Adequate funding shall be secured to support youth education initiatives. And it also says partnerships with international institutions shall be encouraged, and monitoring mechanisms shall ensure accountability and continuous improvement. And as final provisions, this consolidated act shall guide Asgardia's youth and education policies and may serve as a reference document for future legislative development, institutional frameworks, and educational programs. These articles will be detailed further. Korna did it very well. I also made a critical contribution saying that we should fill in the missing issue of youth participation, and John Fine presented a different recommendation which has 15 articles. So we are going to add some subtitles and their contents in the coming periods. Regarding the aforementioned education program, I also conducted a study which I would like to summarize right now. Asgardia Space Education Program. The subtitle is, or the motto is, educating the next generation of space citizens. This is going to be an organization that aims to train Asgardian space citizens. I have identified some global universities that provide space education. I went through their curriculum, and there are some 2-year programs like pre-bachelor's or college degrees, and then proper bachelor's, master's of science and PhD programs. Of course, there are also countries that provide space education in their formal education, even in Turkey. There are some small steps that are being taken at the primary school level, and I'm also closely following them. But here, I think that we have to work on a 4-year education plan. This is going to be a kind of bachelor's degree.
Asgardia'nın bu konuyla ilgili vizyonunu, misyonunu
Asgardia's vision, mission, and educational philosophy should be reflected on this.
modüllerini,
I will be talking about the outputs and modules of this program, the structural features of this program, and
programları hem seçim
trainee
dersleri
programs and
hem
optional
öğretim
courses,
koşulları, hem uluslararası ilişkiler
teaching methods,
ve bu
international
programda
relations dimension, and the
personelin yeterlilikleri
credentials of the academic personnel that the
sağlayacak,
teachers
akredite
are expected
edilebilecek
to
bir format üzerinde çalışıyorum.
have.
Bizde Erasmus Avrupa
It will be included in this document. We have the Erasmus credit system in Turkey. There are some accrediting organizations globally. I didn't check which kind of organizations provide accreditation for space training, but in sports, for example, there are some accreditation institutions in United States. But when it comes to the space education accreditation, I will have to check the necessary institutions that may provide such kind of certification. If you want, I can prepare a kind of certification program for Asgardia. Maybe in the long term, such a 4-year program might be embedded in our educational institute or in Asgardia University. But in the short term, to be able to reach the people, to be able to create some co-projects with the civil society organizations or companies, maybe we can create a shorter certification program that could benefit Asgardia. This is what I believe. And finally, there will be this space conference that will take place in Turkey. I already shared the details about this, and I would like to shortly talk about this. I just attended a meeting in Erzurum province of Turkey. It was hosted by the Turkish Space Agency, and they delivered a presentation there.
Biz bu sürecin içerisinde yer almak için bu organizasyona da
So
katılmamız gerektiğine
we will have to take place such kind of in such kind of organizations if we would like to make our voice heard. I'm going to personally attend the space conference that will take place in Antalya. It's going to take place in 2026. Antalya region is similar to Dubai in terms of its climate. So this is the program. 77th International Astronautical Congress.
Sanırım Dubai'dekinin bir sonraki versiyonu.
I think this is the
Bakü'deki.
this is
Katılmıştınız.
the
Diyorum ki aynı ekip
this year's version of Baku conference, which you already attended. There are calls for participants.
Çok da güzel Türkiye Uzay Ajansı
Turkish Space Agency expects that 10,000 people will attend. So probably 10,000 people will be coming to Antalya to attend this conference. And as Asgardia, we should be able to have our own desk to meet with potential stakeholders and to collaborate with them. I believe this conference presents a huge opportunity for us. And if you want, I can share the details about this organization and I can provide some further information. Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions or comments for Sabahattin? Sorry, I was interrupted briefly in the middle, so I interrupted you, Sabahattin, but all good. Thank you very much. Sabahattin, let me ask you a question. Could you explain a little bit more about what that conference, I know about it, but can you tell everyone in simple terms what the conference is about? Further first, and then you.
Çok teşekkür ederim. Ben
Thanks
Sebahattin
very
Bey'in
much.
son anda katılıp bu kadar çok işi hemen toparlayıp yeni bir belgeyle
It was a
bu
surprise
oturuma
for me that
yetişmesinden dolayı
Mr.
teşekkür
Sabahattin
sunuyorum.
was able to, on a
Arkadaşlar
very
da
short
çok güzel
notice,
çalışıyor, koordineli bir
was
şekilde.
able to
Tebrik etmek
collaborate
istiyorum.
with our
Çok
friends
teşekkür
and
ederim.
prepare the documents in such a short amount of time. Just I would like to thank him for his efforts.
That's fine. Yes. Okay.
Evet, bu organizasyon uluslararası.
Now this conference,
Paylaşayım. Şurada.
let me share my screen.
Yes. Go ahead. Thank you. And then we'll go to
Bu
after this.
organizasyonun düzenleyen Uluslararası Astronomikal
International
ve
Astronautical Federation is the host of this
76.sı Antalya'da
conference.
gerçekleştirilecek.
27th
Dolayısıyla çok ciddi bir organizasyon. Sanırım Bakü'deki organizasyonun devamı.
conference is going to be taking place in Antalya. I think it's a kind of continuation of what took place in Baku. 604 member organizations, 35,000 people and 82 countries are involved.
Asgardia olarak bilmiyorum.
I don't know if we are members to this
Geçmiş dönemde yapılan
IAF.
bu çalışmalarla ilgili web
You can see the
sayfasında oldukça
photographs
önemli bilgiler var.
regarding the previous activities.
Bültenine üye olabiliyorsunuz.
And you can also subscribe to their newsletter.
Bu Antalya organizasyonunu Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Devleti,
Republic of
Türkiye Uzay
Turkey,
Ajansı üstlendi.
the government of Republic of Turkey, Turkish Space Agency undertook the organization of such an event, and they are expecting that 10,000 people will participate. So, as Asgardia, I believe we should have our rightful place in this organization. And here you can see the website, the details of the program.
Bununla ilgili kataloğu da sizlerle paylaşmıştım.
I have already shared the catalog of the conference with you. There will be a global networking forum. There will be panels, a series of panels, and there will also be a technical program. They have promoted this during the symposium in Erzurum that I have just mentioned. And I also met with the provincial director of education. And I have also mentioned that there should be a topic about the space education. I'm going to take a few more seconds because I need to show this as well.
Evet, bu da bizim Türkiye Uzay Ajansı'nın web sayfası.
This is the web page of the Turkish Space Agency. They are promoting the program. They're promoting Antalya, and there are some very serious preparations. I will also do my best to contribute. I don't know about Asgardia, but I will be attending to this conference with or without Asgardia. So I will also be contributing because the Turkish government is attaching huge importance to such an activity, and this is going to be a serious one. I really hope that as Asgardia, we will also attend to this conference, and there is also a video about this.
Future space. Centuries
times. Today, shift for centuries. Today, science, satellites, space stations, rising efficiency, strong, ambitious sports, more peace, more science, more exploration, more vision, more space. In 2026, on October 5th, world meets in share knowledge, to shape the future, to build the next era of space, because the world needs more space. Evet. Bu da tanıtım videomuz.
This was the promotional video. I was somewhat emotional watching this, and I'll be really happy if we can be together in Antalya. We will be able to experience this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabahattin. We've got Uga and then we got Ariadne. Uga.
Teşekkür ederim Sayın Başkan.
Thanks very much,
Öncelikle
distinguished chairperson.
dostum,
My friend, my colleague, Sabahattin Devecioğlu. Thanks very much. You made us proud for delivering such an important presentation. If we can find the necessary resources and if Asgardia allows us, we are ready to attend the conference in Antalya together with the banners and flyers of Asgardia. So I would like to say that we will give the full support. Izmir is very close to Antalya. The city that you live in is very close to Antalya. It's just 1 hour by plane and 6 hours by bus. We'll happily join you.
Thank you. Sabahattin, go ahead.
Çok teşekkür ederim. Yalnız bu
Thanks very much,
gençlik ve
Uğur.
komisyonda yalnız kalıyorum. Bir John Fan.
I would like to say that most of the time I'm alone in Youth and Education Commission.
Burada gönüllü olmak, çalışmak.
I would like to thank John Fine for his contributions, but we need to reshape the committee, re-establish the committee. If you would like to be a member of the committee, please come and join us, because I'm very busy during my daily work at the university. So I can hardly find time to work on this, but I will do my best to do what's necessary. And the final version of Youth and Education Framework Act and the 4-year university curriculum, and then the 2-year certificate programs will be soon presented to you by me. Thanks very much.
And final word to Ariadne. Then I will say something. I want to change how we're voting on this, but Ariadne, you're next.
Muchas gracias. Una disculpa porque
Thank you
aquí
very much.
cortan el
I'm
pasto
sorry
todas
because
las mañanas.
sometimes they cut the grass every morning here where my daughter lives, and maybe you hear that in the background. But this organization forms part of Asgardia, or Asgardia forms part of that one. So it is really interesting that like a sponsor and as a member or active member. I think that our impression is that our head of the nation, as somebody that has supported this organization, and they have invited us as by part of the Prime Minister to form part of this. I think that's really beautiful. The only thing I would say, Sabahattin, don't say with Asgardia or without Asgardia. You are a resident and Asgardian. You are an Asgardian, whatever you are. You have it in your blood. It's in your name. Please don't say don't say with or without Asgardia. You are Asgardia already. I am very proud that you can participate in this with paper. That would be like a very proud moment for us in Asgardia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariadne.
Evet,
Let me
teşekkürler
go on to Bahattin.
Talyana. Ve
Thank you very much.
şunu
I just
Asgardia
want
olsun
to
olmasın
highlight
derken,
one thing.
burada akademik bir
Of course,
panelde
I
birlikte
mention
sunmamız gerekiyor.
here
Yani
that I have to
katılabilir
mention
tabii
that
ama
we have to be a part of this. But in
benim
order to be a
bunu
part
ben
of this,
üniversitem adına
we need to have
yapmak
an
durumundayım.
academic
Profesörlüğü
article or an
orada işliyorum.
academic,
Tabii
presentation.
Asgardia orada bir
And as you
stand
probably know, I am a member of
açarsa
the
veya bize
faculty.
bir
If we have,
yetki
as
verirse veya
Asgardia, like a
katılım
stand or a booth
konusunda işbirliği
there, that
sağlarsa
would really help us. If
orada da
Asgardia is
Asgardia'yı
open for this
tanıtmak
kind
adına,
of
Asgardia
cooperation, I will be very happy to
geliştirmek
introduce,
adına
to promote
orada
Asgardia
olabilirim.
in this occasion.
O ayrı bir
I will
konu.
be very happy to take
Tabii
that
burada
responsibility.
Asgardia'nın
But as I
ilgili
said before,
kurumları, kurumları
the
Türkiye
Asgardia,
aracılığıyla
our
işbirliği
Asgardia
yapmak
authorities need to also, of
katılım
course,
şartları var.
cooperate
Stand
here
açmak için,
with the organizers,
sponsorluk
especially with
için
the
şartlar var.
Turkish
Orada
Space
sayfada var zaten
Association.
şartlar.
You can see all
Eğer
the
öyle bir durum
rules,
olursa,
all the
bizde de
standards, all the
yetkimiz olursa
requirements in their
Asgardia adına da
website. So if
görev yaparız diye
Asgardia
düşünüyorum.
allows me or authorizes me, I will be very happy to take that responsibility.
Evet.
Thank you very much indeed, Sabahattin. And let me say that I'd like to defer this vote because what you presented is quite different to what we translated. So if that's okay with you, it's great. You've built it so much since the last time. And what I'd like to do is have the second reading vote at the next digital sitting, which will be end of January, probably beginning of February. Just because you have developed it so much in the last 4 weeks. Also, I want to see if we can include your proposal to attend that conference next year. Those two things are very important. So I would ask, I'll make the judgment. This is good. It's a happy thing. John knows more than anyone else how often things can be deferred and be better. But you have really developed what Corner presented. And I really want to give it a great opportunity to be successful. So what we'll do is we will defer the vote on this. So we'll put that into the next agenda as a second reading, which is good news. It's because you have really taken this on board. You've chosen to own this, and this is very valuable. Our education system is the most important thing for the future of Asgardia as a whole, because how we educate is how we create our culture. So that's what I would like to do, if that's okay. Is that okay with you, Sabahattin?
Evet.
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
most
Yeah.
definitely.
Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Önümüzdeki
Good.
günlerde bu
And
konuda
we will be
gelişmeleri
happy to hear from you in the coming days.
tekrardan
We will be sharing, of course, the developments
toplantılarda
from the group and from the meetings.
tekrardan
Of course, I will try to share you the
tartışmış oluruz.
updates. So we'll be happy to
Umarım
discuss them
her
with
şey
you.
Asgardia
Hopefully,
için
everything will be
olumlu olur
great
diye
for
düşünüyorum.
Asgardia. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I'm very glad to say that this is very useful. This is very useful because basically, oftentimes our physical and digital sittings improve the quality of what we're doing. And that's what's happening here, because you are taking on board and developing and owning what has been started by Corner and continued by you. Great, that's good. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. And thank you to the LMRG as well. LMRG for its involvement here as well. Okay, thank you, everybody. Now, let me tell you that there is no further activity today. Our Supreme Justice is still working. I think he was expecting to join us a bit later on today, so I'll contact him. There's a fairly big time zone difference from between me and Tim, about 8 hours. So what we will do is we will defer the discussion about the reappointment of the justices till tomorrow. I don't see a problem with that. It's really my fault because I did not check that Supreme Justice Yun Zhao would be free at the earlier time. So I apologize. Yun Zhao has nothing to apologize for. What that means is we have finished for today. Let me go through the agenda. Let me just check. Right. So we had the opening, then we had the government hour, which will always be at the start of day 2 from now on. Then we talked about Decree 89, a fascinating conversation, and I have already reported to Head of Nation about that briefly during our break. And he is very pleased that we have had that discussion. And that discussion will help to develop what we do based on Decree 89. Remember, Decree 89 does not demand the ownership of Antarctica and Arctica. It creates the structure for our development of the legislation. So that's very good. Thank you for that, all of you. Then we talked about the Asgardia Opportunities Act. Then we talked about the Asgardia Digital Content Authorization Act. We covered the Asgardia Space Debris Mitigation and Management Act, the Asgardia Space Traffic Management Act, and finally the Asgardia Youth and Education Framework Act. If you agree with that last one, we will defer so that we can have further discussion. It's a normal thing, which is very good news. If you agree with what we thought about the other acts, then please vote yes. If you disagree, vote no. If you don't know, please abstain. And that's all I can say about those. That's all I need to say. Let's look forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow, we may have a guest speaker. I don't know yet. But we will certainly have a report back from Asgardia Executive Congress, where I would ask all of the chairs to participate actively in sharing their experiences of that wonderful event. We will then talk about the updated Executive Communications Protocol. Good news there as well. The feedback from the chairs has been taken on board, and we have opened up the communications in a very good way. I shall share that tomorrow. Then we get reports from all the 12 committees. You will have the opportunity after that to review a timetable of priority acts. You don't have to bring anything forward. I put that in every time to make sure that you have the chance to participate and put things forward if you want to. And then after 1700 UTC, I shall give you the provisional result of the votes. And remember, we're deferring the vote on the education document just because of the good, excellent work which has been done since the last time. My closing remarks, the anthem, and we close. Anything else anybody wants to say today before we finish? Okay, I've got one thing to say. I always say this. Thank you to our interpreters. They are brilliant. We spent 3¼ hours times 4. That means we have done 13 hours worth of work in 3¼ hours. That is brilliant. And we don't get judged on time, we get judged on results. And I promise you, results are what matters. Immediately after this, I'm going to a meeting about national recognition of Asgardia, which I'm going to, and I will be there in 2 hours' time. So all of what we are discussing is really important. And these people take us seriously. So I will be with politicians. I don't want to share who they are because they have not given me permission to share that. But I will have something of a report tomorrow about what happens. These are professional politicians. It just is a coincidence that I'm meeting them tonight and we're in a digital sitting, but I have to take this opportunity. It means I have to go into central London. I don't want to do that, but I'm so committed to Asgardia. I will. Thank you to everyone who has contributed today. We had 62 people who came and went. Somebody asked me, how do I add that up? I can see how many people come. and how many people go. And so not everyone stays for the whole time, but we had 62 participants. So I can shut this as soon as I finish talking. But tomorrow, please be there for 1500 UTC, and we will finish our third day. Thank you, everyone. If you like what you saw, please do follow Asgardia, or better still, become a resident. That costs €100, and you can do it right now. Please also sign up to the app. That's in your app store. And it's a great way to see what Asgardia is doing. I use it all the time. I've always got my phone here, and it helps me a lot. I'm Len Topic. I'm the chair of the Parliament of Asgardia, the world's first fully functioning digital democracy. I'll see you tomorrow. We can stop the broadcast.